Mr. Crushy's everything that you need. Got the rhythm, got the flow, got the charm on lock. Turning up the heat, yeah, we're rocking the block. The questions in the air, yeah, it's all in good fun. The questions in the air, yeah, it's all in good fun. Before we even start, yeah, the party's begun. Before we even start, yeah, the party's begun. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Mr. Crushy's on the mic. Yeah, we're keeping it wild. Bringing out the humor, yeah, we're keeping it styled. Stay tuned for the laugh, stay tuned for the laugh, stay tuned for the games. We're burning up the screen, yeah, we're fanning the flames. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the crush. What? Crush. Welcome to the show, yeah, we're taking the lead. Mr. Crushy's everything that you need. Got the rhythm, got the flow, got the charm on lock. Turning up the heat, yeah, we're rocking the block. The questions in the air, yeah, it's all in good fun. The questions in the air, yeah, it's all in good fun. Before we even start, yeah, the party's begun. Before we even start, yeah, the party's begun. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Mr. Crushy's on the mic. Yeah, we're keeping it wild. Bringing out the humor, yeah, we're keeping it styled. Stay tuned for the laugh, stay tuned for the laugh, stay tuned for the games. We're burning up the screen, yeah, we're fanning the flames. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the crush. What? Crush. Welcome to the show, yeah, we're taking the lead. Mr. Crushy's everything that you need. Got the rhythm, got the flow, got the charm on lock. Turning up the heat, yeah, we're rocking the block. The questions in the air, yeah, it's all in good fun. The questions in the air, yeah, it's all in good fun. Before we even start, yeah, the party's begun. Before we even start, yeah, the party's begun. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Mr. Crushy's on the mic. Yeah, we're keeping it wild. Bringing out the humor, yeah, we're keeping it styled. Stay tuned for the laugh, stay tuned for the laugh, stay tuned for the games. We're burning up the screen, yeah, we're fanning the flames. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the crush. What? Crush. Welcome to the show, yeah, we're taking the lead. Mr. Crushy's everything that you need. Got the rhythm, got the flow, got the charm on lock. Turning up the heat, yeah, we're rocking the block. The questions in the air, yeah, it's all in good fun. The questions in the air, yeah, it's all in good fun. Before we even start, yeah, the party's begun. Before we even start, yeah, the party's begun. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Mr. Crushy's on the mic. Yeah, we're keeping it wild. Bringing out the humor, yeah, we're keeping it styled. Stay tuned for the laugh, stay tuned for the laugh, stay tuned for the games. We're burning up the screen, yeah, we're fanning the flames. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the crush. What? Crush. Welcome to the show, yeah, we're taking the lead. Mr. Crushy's everything that you need. Got the rhythm, got the flow, got the charm on lock. Turning up the heat, yeah, we're rocking the block. The questions in the air, yeah, it's all in good fun. The questions in the air, yeah, it's all in good fun. Before we even start, yeah, the party's begun. Before we even start, yeah, the party's begun. Crush Daddy, are you gay or straight? I don't know, but the answer is yes. Crush Daddy.
I think.
Here we are.
I think we're good. Let me have my guys do a mic check on us. What's up, Vaughn? Can you guys hear us okay? I'm always nervous about the audio issues whenever we start. You can hear us, Simon. Can you just count down from 10 for me, and then they'll let me know if they can hear you fine.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Can you guys hear Simon? Okay. Do I need to adjust his volume at all? What's up, John? Guys, come on. It's good. All right, we're good. All right.
Cool.
Well, Simon, thank you for doing the most, probably the weirdest podcast you'll ever do. I'm assuming the most unanticipated one for an retired FBI agent to come on.
Yeah, strange bedfellows, as they say in your industry.
So we met in Florida not that long ago.
Are we allowed to talk about what were the circumstances that had us meet? Is that what we can talk about or no?
Yeah, I mean, probably.
I don't know.
Ask for forgiveness, not for permission, I guess.
Yeah, we were cast in a movie together, but not the kind of movie that you're normally in.
No, a normal Hollywood theater movie, not my typical collab movie that I do.
The actual comedy crime movie that will be in movie theaters about a year from now.
Yeah.
And and from what I saw, it looked funny as hell. Like it's going to be a good movie.
Yeah, especially the part that me and you were in, I thought was pretty funny. And then, yeah, so it was hilarious. Like a bunch of you guys came in, a bunch of retired and current law enforcement came in to help with this scene. And it was like by far the most interesting conversations I had those couple of days was with y'all.
Well, I think kind of like straight-laced people like me were just sort of fascinated by you. You're like an alien from outer space to us because in our normal day-to-day life, we don't meet people with the kind of checkered past that you have and checkered present.
Yeah, but I mean, being as clean as I am now, I felt no like resistance to like tell you like, yeah, man, I used to have my run-ins with y'all back in the day.
Well, I think the one thing that maybe we should introduce me to your audience. I don't know that they know.
Yeah, let's do it. So who exactly are you?
Okay, my name's Tom Simon. I'm a retired FBI special agent. I was an FBI special agent for 26 years. And then I retired back in 2021. And now I'm a licensed private investigator in Florida. And I also have a media presence on my social media platforms, Simon Investigations. And so I'd be honored if we could have some overlapping fans. And
we do, actually.
My guys can follow you and your guys can follow me. Yeah. And then, but when we were hanging out together in Florida, that we posted a picture together and I had said, I'm filming a movie. And then they see a picture with you and they're like, oh, that's an interesting movie, Tom. I say, well, it's not that kind of movie. I go, Crush is the guy who's crossing genres, not me.
Yeah, no, I actually had quite a few people DM me saying like, I follow both of you, but I never thought I would see you guys in a post together.
yeah, it's either you're I do true crime stories though, right? And true crime's hot, and what you do is interesting to everybody, and so it makes sense that with kind of two guys with sort of broad appeal in our different niches that we would have some overlap. Yeah,
and the other thing that I found fascinating was a few people just in my personal life watched a lot of your stuff, and they said that it's super informative. You basically make these like almost like storytelling videos about investigations that have happened with the FBI, and they're super informative and interesting, and like and it seems like you blew up during like 2022, 2023.
That felt right, yeah, because it took about a year. I was like just screaming into the void, making videos, telling these 2 and 3 minute true crime stories from an FBI perspective, and I felt like no one was watching. But I felt, if I just keep grinding away at it, there's no downside. And then, like happens in social media, overnight it kind of blows up, and now I got about 500,000 followers across platforms, and so which gives me a steady stream of clients for my private investigator firm, and I also do public speaking to industry groups about fraud matters, and so it's been great. No complaints, and as you know, and we've spoken about at length off the air, having a decent social media presence feeds the revenue sources, right? It's like the loss of what we do.
Yeah, my dad even said that like in the current world, having a social media presence is probably the best asset you can have.
Oh yeah, it's your brand.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is that when you get to control it, right? You and I aren't ceding ourselves to, some show where we're the third banana on it or something like that. It's
Yeah.
we get to control our image and our brand, which is nice. And
do you have your own show?
no, I don't. Okay, it's sort of weird. There's speaking of strange bedfellows and the kind of friends I have on the who've had interesting lives. I'm a regular contributor on a very popular true crime show called Inside True Crime with Matthew Cox. Once a month, he turns the show over to me. He's got 1 million followers, and I host a game show on his channel where I become the host and he becomes the contestant, and I tell crime stories, and he has to guess the sentence that was given to the bad guy at the end, how much time the guy got in prison. And so that's kind of blown up for him and for me. But it's me being on his channel. I don't have a show. My show, my show is my 2-3 minute crime stories every single morning.
Yeah. I pinned your Instagram in the chat, so everybody who comes in can just go, and then they can go to your other stuff from there. Because you have your link tree, I see in the Instagram. Because they were asking like if we could pin your stuff.
Oh, that's nice of them. Yeah, no, the few of your fans that reached out for me were just the nicest people in the world. And so
I do cater to kindness. Like I don't accept people who are unkind as fans. I would, the whole thing of obviously being in the LGBTQ community, we generally, our whole culture is inclusiveness.
Yeah.
And so like, even if we come from different cultures or different anything, we're very accepting. And so we do get queens in our own community. They're very cannibals. Like they're like, no, you're not allowed to be an LGBTQ. Like it's happening with the trans women sometimes where they're like, T is not a sexuality, so they shouldn't be part of LGBTQ. And I'm just like, who really gives a shit? Like, come on.
Right.
And that's even you, like you're not necessarily a part of LGBTQ, but they love that we're here together. Like a lot of them were anticipating this when I told them over the weekend that this was happening.
I'm a square straight guy who's been married to the same woman for 29 years, but I don't have a problem with gay people or anyone, any type of. You treat people with kindness, and it just and then you don't have to worry about the politics and the labels. Just treat everybody nicely.
Right. And I'm even writing a book, and I'm going to title it "Kind of Gay," but we'll highlight kind. And
nice.
Because that's my story. I'm only kind of gay.
Well, I was wondering about that. Do your fans know that that you have relationships, like committed relationships with women also, and that everyone's comfortable with that? No. Do you feel that hurts your brand sometimes?
Oh yeah, but with a very small portion. It hurts my brand with the queens that I was just talking about that say that the purists, I call them the purists, like people who are like, you have to be 100% something to be a part of it. And like, I believe everything in this world is on a spectrum. I'm sure even in the FBI, like crimes are on a spectrum, even though they're very labeled
more than others. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like everything's on a spectrum. Like, yeah, I have a girlfriend. She's also like queer, I would say. Like queer is the word I use, or pansexual is the word I use, even though it has a negative connotation from the old days. The old, like that's actually, I don't know how much you know about it, but nowadays people, it's like the word queer has been taken back by some people.
Yeah, I mean, it was a slur growing up. It was something you said when you're trying to hurt someone's feelings. Right.
And some older gays don't like that word still.
Yeah.
The younger generation, I like to use it because it's very broad and ambiguous kind of, because like I'm not 100% gay. I'm not 100% straight. I kind of like go where the wind takes me. And so I use that a lot, or pansexual, but the reason I hate using pansexual is I have to explain it to everybody.
This is a Final Jeopardy question. I'm not sure I would get that one right.
Yeah. Which pansexual means like person to person. Like you don't have a broad definition of what you're into. It's more just like you go person to person and make a decision, not a decision, but more like you're feeling like whatever you're feeling and with that person, that's just what you go with. And so it's a little bit more fluid is the right word.
So Crush, was it always that way when you were like, a 12-year-old kid and first sort of, you're hitting puberty, your hormones are now raging and stuff like that. And you may not be having sex, but you're thinking about sex. You're thinking about what were you drawn to?
I don't know. I think like the way I've tried answering this question to people before is like, I think instinctually I'm straight. Like my primal instincts is I'm into women. Emotionally, I'm gay. And like, so like my bond, like it's almost
like you're into show tunes and stuff or what?
No, I think it's like I bond really well with men.
Okay, you get along. You get along.
Yeah, and like I'm not initially like I'm rarely. It has happened, but I'm rarely initially physically attracted to men.
Interesting.
But it'll grow over time, and then because of that, because I'm not like purely gay, it wasn't as obvious when I was younger. You know, where like I just kind of went with the cultural norm. You know, like and I think I had one gay dream when
it was the default setting of most humans, and so that's what you went with because why would you believe otherwise? That's
right. And obviously, you know, I'm 35 in the 90s and early 2000s. It still was like, you know, there was a lot of homophobia in the high schools and in middle schools, you know. So, and I played sports and I played basketball, which is like a super homophobic sport, right?
Yeah.
So like I was incentivized to stay away from anything not straight. But I had one gay dream, I think, when I was like 15 where I kissed a guy. And I woke up like with the most amount of like guilt and shame and felt like it was a secret I had to keep. And I did. like I was just like, why would I have that dream type of thing? And like, just like pushed it down. And then like later I just was like, I don't know, like I've told the story a million times, but like later I had an experience with a trans woman and I knew she was trans. And then I got aroused and that made me rethink everything kind of and just like approach every situation with an open mind. And that's when I realized like, oh, like I am attracted to other things as well. So it didn't really click until I was like 30. Like, okay. And I had to have that experience where like a trans woman was hitting on me and I was totally aroused. And then I felt myself doing what I did with my gay dream, which was to try and push it down. And then I was like, why am I doing that? Mm-hmm. Like I'm getting older. Every erection is becoming more of a luxury. I need to like, like there's less and less erections for me in the future. So the older I get, the less I'm going to have. So I need to capitalize on them when they happen.
Yeah.
And so
let me recount because I think your audience may find it interesting. Our first conversation where this was broached. So we were on the movie set together for a couple of days, you know, and I look at you, I'm like, well, this is a big, strong, like scary looking dude. And you know, like a macho dude that we would all aspire to be in as good physical condition as you are and all that. And then you and I sit together at lunch one day and we had been in the same room for about a day and a half at that point, but hadn't really had much conversation. We're in a scene together and, you know, and we get to chatting and we're just having nice talk with each other. And then you mentioned that you do most of your acting in the adult industry. Right. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I mean, no judgment here. And I asked you my honest question. How is anyone making money in porn these days? Because it all seems to be free on the internet. Mm-hmm. And you said, well, you know, no one is actually. It's really tough, which is why I do gay porn. And so I'm sitting there, I'm chewing my food. I'm like, wow, I really misread the situation because there was nothing about you that read gay to me.
Right. That I get that a lot. I get that a lot.
About your mannerisms or anything like that. And again, no judgment against gay people, but some people, I'm usually able to tell this is a gay guy or this is a straight guy when you're just dealing with people on a day-to-day basis, whether they're your waiter or a guy at the gym or whatever. And again, it's neither here nor there. And so we're eating a little more, and I said, Crushless, I got to run this by you, man, because there's nothing. And I go, do you consider yourself gay? Because there was nothing about you that read gay to me. I asked, and then you said, well, I guess technically I would probably be bi, but you know, I have a committed girlfriend and stuff like that. And so it was just sort of interesting to me to see somebody with that kind of fluidity, because I don't know that I've met anyone like that. I know people who've identified themselves as bi, but I always associated them, mostly women, who are kind of in the transitional period. They're like, you know, they discovered that they're gay very late in life, and they're just trying to kind of reconcile those two things. And again, I don't pretend to understand any of this as sort of a 56-year-old straight guy, but it was interesting to me and eye-opening to me to have these conversations with.
Well, and I appreciated your open-mindedness, and I think what you're describing is when in the past, I mean, if you even like, we were going to talk, I wanted to talk to you about like the history of the FBI,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So like in the past, there was very like hard clad. It was gay or straight, right? It was pick a side. And these
Right.
are your two options. And then it like, you know, then there's bi. Now there's three. And like, then there's, you know, asexual or, you know, and then trans and like, and it's like now there's 7 categories that you can choose. But the more and more, like, I think as society progresses, it becomes more just a spectrum, right? Where it's like, you know, even if you're straight, you might be into foot stuff too, which is like, you know, like, and it's like, it's such a complicated thing that I don't think we can ever really like label it accurately. Yeah. Because there's different levels. Because even, you know, gay, like I've talked with a lot of my fans, like there's different forms of gay. Right? Like there is some of the most masculine men that I've met have been Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity. Right? Like, and they're
never have known in a conversation if you were sitting next to them on an airplane,
you would never know they're gay. Right? And like, because they work on a farm, they're wearing flannel, they got a big beard, you know, there's nothing. And that there's a difference. Like, I think there was a period, and there is a lot of people who confuse sexuality with the difference between femininity and masculinity.
Sure.
Right.
Stereotypes exist. Yeah.
And yes, they do overlap. There are feminine gay, but there's also feminine straight guys. Like you've been to LA, right? Like we call it metrosexual. And it's straight guys who are very feminine and they're not, but they're completely straight. And like, and I think, especially, I'm assuming because you were in the federal government, the FBI, where it's very like rigid, linear, everything is kind of very traditional and the same. Like you probably are in that brain thinking of like, well, there's categories to everything. We label everything. Yeah. And like, I'm much more from like I just go with the flow. I don't know what the fuck. I don't know what's going on in the world. Yeah, it's like standardization, right? Like the world is standard, like tries to standardize everything, and then people don't like it when you deviate from that sometimes. But as you know, there's levels to everything in the world.
Sure.
And I think it's the same with sexuality. Like, and I'm very masculine. I like masculine. Like I like working out. I fight. You know, I do Muay Thai. Like I like having tattoos. I grew up on a farm. You know, rugby's my favorite sport. I don't really like put on makeup or even like groom my hair very much. But there are moments where I'm totally Queenie.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, like you might have never seen it, but like I'll queen out sometimes if I have an attitude.
And so, if you don't mind me asking, because I've not seen your content. This is not what I'm drawn to. Are you regarded as a bottom or a top or both, or is that even a distinction anymore? Or am I just sort of, you know, everything?
I'm a top.
So, yeah, okay.
I'm a top. Okay. I call myself a pleasure top. So I'm very dominant, but I'm a pleasure top. So like I top people to make them get off, if that makes sense. Then there's like, but I have bottomed. Sure. It's just it's more when I'm what I call topped out, when I'm just like, I did 6-7 scenes in a row in 3 days. And like, I'm like, my dick's about to fall off. Like you just like, can I just be a pillow princess for this one?
That's so funny.
And then it also depends like how connected I am with the other person. So like there's not like, I won't bottom for everybody. I won't top everybody either. It's like a big part of my sexuality has to do with chemistry. Sure. And I'm sure, so even you who's straight as an arrow can relate to this. You've probably been attracted to somebody physically, and then the chemistry wasn't there and the attraction went away.
Yeah, sure. No, yeah. I mean, in college, it would happen all the time. Like you'd see a a pretty girl, and then you get to talking to her and she's a moron or says something really just sort of disgusting, and then she stops being good looking in your eyes.
Right. And then the vice versa also happens.
Oh, I'm sure I repel women every day. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, what I mean is someone didn't attract you right away, but then like you grew attracted to them over time.
Sure.
And that's what I meant by I'm emotionally gay. Very often in my life, I would start to feel attracted to someone of the same gender over time because the chemistry was so strong. And so that's probably like what the Greeks and the Romans were doing and the Vikings when they talk about the warriors were basically all bisexual because they were, you know, hooking up with each other and then they created these bonds. It's probably something like that. I don't really think about it that much. I just kind of go with it.
Right. Well, tell me this now. Being in a relationship with a woman, are you guys in an open relationship where you guys do your own thing, or is it only if you're on camera because that's regarded as work and there's not the emotional connection there?
Both.
All right.
So we're open. We don't date other people.
Right. But you're on the road on a business trip. You go to the hotel bar and you meet a man or woman that you're attracted to, and it begins moving in that direction. Would your girl flip out to know that had occurred, or is it just is everything's
as long as our personal rules and that's for every relationship. You set your own boundaries. In our relationship, it's as long as you're open and honest about it, like anything goes. As long as you don't do anything that you think your partner wouldn't be okay with. You know, like I wouldn't like hook up with her sister or something. You know, like she would, because she hates her sister. So like that would
awkward too. Yeah.
But as long like it did happen when I was in Florida. I connected with an old friend. We hooked up. She knew my girlfriend too. I told her about it. She was like, great. Glad you had a good time.
And it's just water up the duck's back. It's neither.
But it's
emotional weirdness.
Yeah, and it's like situation to situation. Like it's the same. Like we just trust each other. So like we have a level of trust where like I wouldn't do anything she wouldn't be okay with, and I don't just like do whatever I want. I like calculate every situation and think like, is this appropriate? You know, and that's how most gay relationships are. Mm-hmm. You know, that's the funny thing. Most men who are like in a gay relationship, that's kind of how they do it. They're very open and like, and so we have like, I'm with a woman, but we have a very gay relationship. Like we don't follow the like normal hetero relationship rules that most people have. And some people get very angry about that. Like, because they call it like legal cheating.
Yeah. Another question for you that I was wondering, having reflected upon it after meeting you, is I'm sure you've been open with your followers and stuff like that about your sobriety and your history of substance abuse. What came first, substance abuse or the sexual fluidity?
Substance abuse.
Really?
Yeah, it started when I was about 14.
Interesting. Is there a link between the two in your mind at all? Or is they just two totally different things, two totally different paths that you went down that make you the man you are today? Or did one facilitate the other in any way?
I do think it's a variable. I don't think it's like the sole variable.
Tell me about that.
So like, I don't think I was drinking and using because I was suppressing my sexuality, but I was probably suppressing my sexuality because I had, I was struggling mentally. You know, and so like I had as an addict, our number one issue is just delusion. Mm-hmm. And we suffer with things like narcissism. We obsess over everything. And so one of the symptoms of that is substance abuse. So it's not the other way around. Like the substance abuse doesn't cause those issues. It's a symptom of those issues.
Now, an outsider might have said that the substance abuse might have impacted you to such an extent that you lower your inhibitions, and which opens the door to different sexual experiences. Do you think that's the case?
No, because then I would have been way gayer when I was using. So like, yeah, and I'm sure that happens with some people, but I think if anything, I was struggling with so many things mentally: depression, anxiety, OCD, ADD, PTSD, like and like, but even before all of those things, I think addicts, I think, are born with addiction. I think circumstances in your life can only amplify your addictive things.
Sure.
Because like I sponsor a guy who had like the easiest life and the most amazing parents and like everything. And he had the same addictive problems that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that, you know, almost grew from his childhood was completely different than mine. You know, like he never went to prison. He never did like heroin, like hard heroin, but he did, you know, Adderall or whatever. And like, but the way we thought, like our thinking process, our like critical thinking was exactly the same.
Next question is, do you think you were at any point or even now a sex addict?
I did think so at one point. Well, soon after I got sober, I was like trying to find out all of my addictions. Yeah. And I've always had a crazy high sex drive, but also just like, I didn't conform to like, I didn't really recognize it, but I just didn't agree with the way, or not agree, but like personally wanted to do sex and relationships the same way that everybody tells you to do it. Like it didn't feel natural to me.
Sure.
You know, like even monogamy, like, cause I went non-monogamous long before I found out I was more fluid on the sexuality spectrum. None of it like felt normal or human to me. And so I went to like an SA meeting because I went to AA first for the drugs and alcohol. And then I found out about SA meetings, which is Sex Addicts Anonymous, SAA. Yeah. And I very quickly realized, because I did AA first and then I did that I was not a sex addict, because one of the ways you can tell you're an addict is if you're willing to do like very like self-harming things in order to feed your addiction. Okay. So like, for example, like I would break the law or go miss work or cheat on my partner or whatever to get drugs and get high. Mm-hmm. But I never missed work to get laid. I never did. I would never do anything illegal to get laid. You know, like it's not like my logical brain goes like, nah, like I'm actually quite calculated when I'm sexual. Like I'm very willing to not have it if the risk reward is too high. Like, you know, like I wouldn't even hook up with somebody just if I felt like it was going to be too much drama. Yeah, you know, like I wouldn't hook up with somebody else's partner behind, like if it was a cheating scenario. I wouldn't do that because to me,
choosiness that comes with your sexuality that wasn't there when you were a drug or alcohol addict.
Yeah, but I would rob you to get high. You know, like I did really crazy things to get high, and so like I think I just have a really high sex drive, but I'm also, because I'm fluid, like I need significantly more mentally stimulating experiences sexually. And I'm also very ambitious sexually. So I think I'm just, like I said, high sex drive, sexually ambitious. And also I don't like I don't care if people watch me fuck on the internet, like where a lot of people do, but I just don't. I never did. I never cared if like my dick got leaked or something. I never gave a shit about that. Yeah. Everybody else does. Maybe I don't know why that is. I just don't like, to me, when it's like, oh, I can make money by putting my dick on the internet. Easy decision.
It pays the bills, right? So, dovetailing off of that, then did your sobriety change your either sex drive or sex proclivities when you?
Yeah, it went up.
Really, your sex drive went up when you became sober?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Did you find yourself getting gayer or less gay, or that had no impact whatsoever when you became sober?
Not immediately. I definitely don't feel like I got gayer immediately. But I definitely, my sex drive went up a lot. And I think that just has to do with being like healthier. But like when you're high, you don't want to do a lot of things. You don't want to go to work. You don't want to work out. You don't want to, you know,
like whiskey dick, but for heroin.
Pretty much. And like heroin wasn't even my main thing. It was just like drugs in general. But like, yeah.
Interesting. Well, All right, I've got all my questions answered. Thanks for joining us. Have a nice day.
So let me ask. So how long were you in the FBI?
Okay, I was an FBI special agent for 26 years.
26 years.
From 1995 till I retired in 2021. So
And
26 years of service.
okay, and do you feel, along with the world, the FBI changed a lot in that time?
Yeah, but maybe not in. I mean, as young agents in their 20s continue to come in, they were kind of making the FBI into their image of their own generation, right? When I came in, it was still some of the old Vietnam veteran and J. Edgar Hoover types walking around, and they were the gray-haired old men, looking at us Gen Xers like we're going to be ruining the FBI with our, with our button-down shirts without a tie type thing. And then, but that's changed over time. I mean, the 9/11 attacks of 2001 changed the mission of the FBI quite a bit, and the types of people you get as agents have changed over time, but there's a continuity there that goes back 125 years.
And how open are you to me asking you a lot of questions about
this is what I do. So
I'm
real proud
so
of my
I can
career.
ask because I'm going to ask.
FBI when the FBI needs defending, I criticize the FBI when the FBI needs criticizing. They don't.
So you're allowed to criticize them as a retired agent now. Like there isn't any kind of, because I know with some of the agencies they're like you can't talk about a lot of stuff.
No, I mean
even after.
I'm not going to just be disclosing classified.
Yeah.
And they know that. But if there's policy issues or historical issues or things that I think could be done differently, I'm allowed to say anything I want. They don't own me anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So like,
I remain a fan of the FBI though. So this isn't going to be some great tell-all where I'm like shitting all over the agency.
Yeah, and I am definitely one of those. Like I said, I know it's more complicated. Like the FBI as a whole is like a huge ecosystem, and there's probably like bad actors and good actors. Like I'm not like one of those people that's like all FBI agents are pigs or something like that. Like I'm sure I've been around long enough to know that it's never black and white like that. And like I do believe the FBI plays an important role in a lot of things. Like I was involved in good ways and bad ways with the FBI in my life. So like some question I want to ask you, so you said, what year did you come into the FBI? In 1995.
1995.
Oh, okay. So when you came in, how different was it than what you expected?
What aspect are you asking about?
Just in like, were there things that you expected that were completely different when you entered the FBI?
Boy, that's a good question. I mean, there were things that I went into the FBI at a very young age. I was 25 years old. The average starting age of an FBI agent's 30. So we're starting with and I was mature for 25, but I hadn't lived a whole lot of life, right? And so it was my second job out of college. And I'm a CPA by trade. And so I, grew up, and the reason I think I wanted to be an FBI agent was, Marvel comics and movies and TV shows and stuff like that, where I thought I'd be spending a lot of time jumping off of moving trains for a living. And then I thought bad guys were just the worst people in the world. People who commit crimes, I had zero empathy for them. I could never, ever see the world through their eyes. They're the worst people in the world. And then I actually start investigating these people, and I find out that they are real live three-dimensional people who may give their kids a kiss goodnight, and they may be fantastic husbands, and they may be just the nicest person in the world, but they happen to have committed the crime that I'm investigating. And so I remember coming to terms with that as an agent in my 20s, wondering, wait, how come I'm not investigating the real bad guys, the loathsome people that I grew up watching in the movies, the Dr. Evils, the Wicked Witch of the West, the Hannibal Lecters. The bad guys that I'm investigating are just more kind of pathetic people who've made bad choices. And so I think that was one of my first rude awakenings, Crush, was that we're all very three-dimensional people, and that sometimes the bad guys go home to their families and they act like perfectly nice suburbanites, but they happen to be doing something illegal. That doesn't mean that I condone their behavior, but it means that I was able to kind of have a little more empathy for them and see the world through their eyes and understand that no one villain in their own life story, and most people who commit crimes are doing it because they're reacting to the circumstances of their lives.
Right. That's a very mature. You figured it out very young. I didn't figure that out. I was always, like I said, very black and white. I thought everything was black and white, but like you do learn that like some people, you don't know what position they were in when they made a certain decision. Right.
And I do a thought experiment when I teach classes, Crush, where I say, think about when you were driving in traffic recently and someone cut you off. how furious you are at that person, how you know everything there is to know about that person. That person must cheat on their wife. They must cheat on their taxes. They're a terrible person. But then the next day you're running late for an appointment and you cut someone off. Is it because you're a terrible person? No, you are just reacting to the circumstance of your life. And so if you can kind of approach people in your life with a little bit of charity and saying, you don't know what's going on with that guy. He could be rushed into the hospital to see his kid, and kind of what's going to happen is you're going to be a better person. And for me, I became a better investigator, and I became, and we can get into this if you want to, a really, really good interrogator because I was able to get people to confess by making the focus of the conversation what was going on in your life that made you commit this crime, rather than you did it, and they're like, no, I didn't, and then it just becomes a circular argument.
And so wasn't there a serial killer whose like daughter was like, yeah, he was a great father? And that was like really weird. Like, I forget who was that. Someone just told me about it. Like, they were like super perplexed. Like, people that couldn't comprehend that because they think like, oh, he's a serial killer. He's probably a horrible father. And the daughter of the serial killer was, if anyone in chat knows who I'm talking about, please let me know. But there was, and I was like, oh, I never thought about that. Like, cause that's like two separate parts of his life.
Yeah, I don't know that story, but it's consistent with my 26 years of law enforcement and my continued investigations today. Is that the bad guys people always ask me, the bad guys who you investigate, are you worried they're going to come back and kill you? I'm like, no, because I didn't treat them poorly. I never lied to them. I never lied about them. My job's not to punish them; it's to find out what happened.
So you treated the people you investigated with respect.
Yeah, and I do that, one, because it's not my job to punish them, but two, also because it's counterproductive. If I want to be an asshole to someone, they're not going to tell me honestly what they did and where they hid the money or anything like that. My job is to get down to the truth, and I became a really, really good interrogator. And my method for interrogating people is to kind of approach them in a very non-judgmental manner to get them to tell me the truth by trying to see the world through their eyes and understand the circumstances of their lives that led them to make these bad decisions.
Yeah, I'm going to check the chat real quick because they're getting mad because I'm not responding to them.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm horrible. When I do these interviews, I'm the worst at checking a chat. One guy asked, how do you feel about Kash Patel?
I'm not a fan.
I've heard that from a lot of retired agents. Like, a lot of agents recently retired because they're not a fan of him.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, between you and I, between you and I and the Twitch stream,
in the whole world.
There's not an FBI agent who's happy with him. They're scared. They don't want to be polygraphed. They don't want to speak publicly. They don't want to be fired. They can't speak out. But when I speak privately to them, they tell me that this guy's a disaster. Yeah.
Okay. So, because some people immediately assume FBI agents are on board with him, and I think that's not
are not on board with him. He's at war with the FBI agent.
I love that. Okay. And then, how do you feel about Kash Patel? I'm assuming straight man's way of becoming. Okay. Welcome, guys. Yeah, if you're late into the chat, this is Simon Investigations. Tom Simon, he's a private investigator now. He's a retired FBI agent. I met him in Florida. He fake arrested me there.
Very salacious Instagram post you made.
I know, it's clickbait. It was great clickbait. And so when you were you said there that when you interrogate people,
yes, because
you look at them as a human, you're actually a really good interrogator. So how did that make you a good interrogator?
Right. Okay. So it's a bit of misdirection. Like, the purpose of an interrogation is to get down to the truth, right? To find out what happened. So when I teach interrogation, I go to some third world countries or developing nations, I should say, and teach their police how to do interrogations. And a lot of these countries out there are still torturing people. And so, and I explain to them that, I do an experiment with them and say, what is the purpose of the interrogation? Is it to get a confession, or is it to get to the truth, right? Because I could tie you to a chair and burn you with cigarettes, Crush, and make you tell me you're the queen of Mars. But it's not necessarily so, right? So let's leave the idea of making someone scared and terrified aside. It's way more effective for me to basically listen to what you have to say. You're gonna lie to me about whether you committed this crime. Let's say you were stealing money from the teller drawers at the bank you worked at. You're gonna talk to me and tell me that you didn't do it. And then at some point I'm going to stop you. I'm going to say, listen, I want to treat you respectfully here. I'm looking into your eyes. I don't think you're a bad person. What I think is that something was going on in your life that led you to the point where you felt like you were forced to do this. where there was financial distress. I'm gonna say, but I don't really know, right? Maybe you were taking the money from the teller drawer because you wanted to party and use drugs and have a good time and kind of stick it to your bosses. That may be the case. I don't know, but I'm looking at your eyes right now, and I truly believe that you were stealing the money because you were under some severe financial distress. But which is it? Was it you were trying to screw over the bank and you wanted to party, or was something going on in your life that made you take that money? And maybe if you had an opportunity to do it over again, you would do it differently. And maybe you were just borrowing the money, you intended to put it back later. So kind of getting into their heads and giving them as much of a charitable outlook about who they are is going to make them want to tell you the truth, because no one looks at themselves in the mirror and sees a monster staring back at them. That's kind of my core. And then you just sort of apply it to different crimes based on the conversation you're having. And you take the time to build rapport and you treat them nicely. And my track record for confessions was insanely high, and to a point where I was being brought in on other people's cases to land the confession on their case.
So this is why I never became a cop. Well, one of the two reasons I never became a cop. I would have a moral dilemma sometimes with that. So, like, have you ever investigated someone where you had empathy for them, or you didn't agree necessarily? Like, let's use like weed, for example, right? Sure. Like in today's world, weed is very socially acceptable now.
Right.
And like, you know, a lot of people have come around to the argument that it should just be legalized because making it illegal gives the power all to the criminals, right? Yeah. And there's a strong argument there. I don't know if I'm right, but that's the way I lean, even though I am sober and don't touch it anymore. And, you know, I see the negative sides of weed and everything. I do believe it should just be legalized. And so like throwing someone in prison for a long time for smoking weed or even selling weed in the non-violent, not like it's not hurting anybody kind of way. Like, I know you have to do your job, right? But how did you deal with, did you ever have any serious cases where you're like, you empathized a lot with somebody, or you disagreed with the idea of like locking them up for it?
Right. I was never into drug prohibition, right? I thought it was just a bad policy, and I felt that way for a long time. I wasn't on a drug squad, so I never investigated drug crimes. Just wasn't that way. So for me, there was no real moral dilemma on whether I'm going to throw this guy in prison. The other thing to understand, and you're such a good person, and I do believe that every time we talk about crimes, you talk about like kind of local crimes. The FBI doesn't really investigate pot smokers, and never has. It's not, you know, like if we're.
But wouldn't they if someone brought it over state lines?
Right. Well, no. Not like a small personal use quantity. Now, if we're talking with like cartels that are bringing up like boatloads of weed and cocaine and heroin from Mexico that's being transported from elsewhere, yeah, the FBI drug agents, and I was never one of those, are going to go after the organization as a whole. But the hothead who wants to buy some weed and like watch a Cheech and Chong movie, I'm dating myself here, is not. What's the modern equivalent? I don't know.
But did you ever have a moral dilemma with somebody you investigated?
I'm trying to think. I mean, there are people that I liked. There's people who had sad stories. But again, you're missing the point. A bigger point here is that, one, I don't set the public policies on what's a crime and what's not.
I understand that, yeah.
Right? But also, I'm not the one who makes the charging decisions. My job is to investigate. And then I present that to the prosecutors, the federal prosecutors at the U.S. Attorney's Office, who are taking a look at cases and saying, yeah, this is a good case, or no, this is a bullshit case. They have the opportunity to decline prosecution on any case I investigate. I worked mostly fraud cases where people are being ripped off by other
financial crimes, essentially, right?
Con artists, scammers, and so. There's circumstances where I felt sorry for the bad guy because they found themselves in a bad spot that made them get into this scam or this fraud or this embezzlement, but not to such an extent that I felt bad about conducting the investigation overall.
Okay. So let me a couple people through some questions here. Well, one person said weed has been federally declassified recently. Is that true?
Probably. I mean, we had this.
What does declassified mean?
I think they mean it's not a Schedule I narcotic anymore.
Oh, that's great.
which impacts the sentencing guidelines. We're in a terrible situation, though, where weed is legal in some states. It's legal in other states. If you have a doctor's note, it's illegal in some states altogether. Then it's illegal federally. It's a mess. And Congress can't agree on anything, but we should have one set of laws in the U.S. for weed. And if everyone had the ability to buy weed recreationally, I'd be fine with that. I don't care.
Your camera just blurred your face.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. Let me do this and bring it back. Back to
Magic trick. Got it. Okay, next question. Do you like crime shows, or are they too unrealistic for you to enjoy?
I can't watch FBI shows, and most cop shows drive me insane. I like a movie. I feel like movies are better thought out, but like I got a bunch of dudes, and once a month we watch some shitty old movie from like the 80s or the 90s, and we watched Rush Hour. You ever see Rush Hour with Jackie Chan?
No, I didn't.
And Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. Chris Tucker.
Oh, I did see that. Yes, long time ago.
Quick example of something that made me insane and want to punch the screen. There's a plot device in Rush Hour 1. I wish I was making this up, where Chris Tucker is a city cop and they need him to partner up with a Jackie Chan, a cop from Hong Kong, to solve some crime. And the FBI comes and basically promotes Chris Tucker from city cop to FBI agent. And they made it seem like you're moving from the minor league baseball to the major league baseball. And that's the career trajectory. It was like the fuckers who wrote that movie had no idea that there's no career path where you get promoted from cop to FBI agent. That's just not something that happens.
No, it's two totally different companies, basically.
Right. Yeah, exactly. One of two different employers. I mean, sometimes police officers will quit their job as police officers and apply to become an FBI agent and go through the FBI academy and all that. They turn out to be fine FBI agents. But there's actually a line where they're like giving him high fives at the police station, like, you're going to the show, which is the term in the minor leagues when they go to the Major League Baseball. And it just made me insane that the writers of that movie never paid attention in civics class in elementary school. So I
actually had to learn in that the hard way, that like the organizations, all the law enforcement organizations, aren't as intertwined as people think because of movies. No,
you're right. It's crazy. Like, and the search and seizure laws, the amount of gunplay that goes on with FBI agents in the movies, where they're just like shooting into a crowd of people and stuff like that, and then they continue pursuing. If I fired my gun in the line of duty at someone, I got days of paperwork. I got an internal investigation ahead of me. I got, it is a big deal.
I've even heard of some police departments where, like, even if you unclip it, like you don't even pull it, you just unclip the holster, you have paperwork to file.
Oh, it's a big deal. Like brandishing, but they're very cavalier about that. But I also understand, right? Hollywood, and I explained this to the filmmakers when I did some technical consulting in the movie that you and I were in. I said, there's no real upside to the to wanting to make these things realistic, because if you made it realistic, you would have
be boring.
You'd have me go out and do a bunch of interviews one day, and then you'd have me at my desk, like hunting and pecking to type up the report, which doesn't make for good television. So I get it, but it makes me crazy. And I find that doctors and lawyers are the same way. They can't watch doctor and lawyer shows because the inaccuracies, they can't get out of it.
It's the same with fitness stuff for me. But I can't watch a lot of porn now.
Well, because how does that impact you?
Like, one, I know a lot of them. So they're like my friends. It's a little weird.
Yeah, I get it.
And like, even on like the stuff I make for my fan sites, like, people don't realize how much, like, in order to make something good, how fake you have to make it.
Yeah, the production.
Yeah, and like I've talked about here a lot on like just how much production goes even to the most amateur thing. Mm-hmm. And like it's like when you watch the raw footage, it's a lot less sexy.
I can imagine. So when you're watching a porn scene with other people in it, you can't help but think about how they got to that point, what the production was like, and the angle, the camera angle means that there's probably a half hour. Everyone went to go have lunch and take a dump between that shot and this shot. So those things kind of take you out of it because you have so much technical knowledge about how the sausage is made.
Yeah, there literally has been a scene this year where I had to leave to go take a dump and then come back.
But it's seamless to your viewers, right?
Right. Yeah, like some of the ones, like especially the BDSM ones that I've done, like kink.com, There's so much production in those because they have to do all the ropes, the tying, the lights, everything, that like a 30-minute post-production scene will take us 7-8 hours to film.
Wow.
And like, yeah, it's like by the end of that, you're just tired. Like, there's nothing, it's all like maybe the first hour might be a little authentic, but after that, like it's just like what we did on the regular movie. It's like no different, it feels no different. Like that movie. In fact, filming the movie, and I don't want to use the word easier because it was still difficult, and it's difficult in a different way. Like, but I would say was
you didn't have to maintain an erection for 8 hours in our movie. So
yeah, like, and the position, like physically, it was a lot easier.
Yeah,
and acting was a lot easier because trying to act while be sexy and have an erection is extremely difficult. Like, so like I actually, because I was so nervous, that was my first time ever doing like a real movie. I was so nervous that I was going to suck because I was like, I have no acting experience whatsoever. And Connor was like, well, yeah, you do. And I was like, yeah, but it's completely a different world, dude. Like, I don't think it's going to overlap much. And he's like, I think you'll be fine. And I was like, okay. And then like, I actually really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed like standard acting. And like, I'm like, oh, I could see myself doing more of this because this is actually a lot easier. It doesn't pay as well, but it's a lot easier and a lot more fun and more creative, where like, there's only so many things you can do in porn. There's only like, and then it's like if it gets too outrageous, nobody enjoys it, so it's like, it kind of, yeah, it was a weird overlay. All right, hold up. We got some more questions, or just some more thoughts. Is there any chance that Kash Patel can be brought to justice for incompetence and massive corruption? I think
Trump will fire him. The question is whether it happens before or after the midterms.
Okay.
But it has leaked out repeatedly that Trump is fed up of his incompetence and he's become an embarrassment. And say what you will about Trump, he values sobriety because I think he had a brother that died of alcohol, was an alcoholic or whatever. I don't know the whole story, but Trump himself is sober, right? He doesn't drink, and he doesn't have a whole lot of compassion for people who drink a lot. And so I think that, but then there's just political calculations involving the midterm elections coming up.
Yeah, I don't follow it enough to really even know.
I try to avoid it as much as possible. I hate politics. I'm not a voter or anything like that.
What kind of questions did Simon have to answer during his annual FBI polygraphs during his tenure?
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that. So they polygraph you before during the application process, but then every 5 years, they polygraph you, and they're really focused upon, are you a spy or have you joined a terrorist group? And so if the answer to have you been selling government secrets to the Russians or the Chinese, and are you somehow affiliated with, ISIS or Al Qaeda or some group that's advocating for the overthrow of the U.S. government and life as we know it? And so if you're fine on those things, you're going to be fine on your 5-year polygraph reinvestigations. I hated the polygraph. I took probably 5 or 6 of them throughout the course of my career. Sorry, Crush. And but you pass them all. So it's not a big deal. If you're not a spy or a terrorist, you're gonna be fine.
And so the one thing I wanted to talk to you about real quick is one of the things that I've always associated because the FBI with in the context of LGBTQ was how horribly discriminant they were, especially in the beginning days of their inception. Where they pretty much treated being gay or anything like that, trans, whatever, as like a crime.
And they regarded it as a national security risk.
Yeah. And so when you joined in 95, how much in the past was that culture in the FBI, or was there still some remnants of it still there?
Oh, well, the prejudice was still there, right? Because when I'm a new agent at age 25, I'm working on a squad with people who were 25 years into their career, right? Who came on board at the FBI in 1970, the year I was born. And so, and they carried the same prejudices and the same core belief that if somebody is harboring a deep, dark secret and is a homosexual, then they could be a target for the Russians to blackmail them into giving out secrets. And not understanding, and no one was willing to, and it wasn't until I think 1998 or 1997 that the FBI director Louis Freeh finally raised the prohibition and allowed allowed people who are living openly as gay people to serve as FBI agents. And then a third of the office announced that they were lesbians. Like we all knew. And
so was it more a problem if you were closeted?
Yeah, I think again, well, they weren't going to hire you if you were outwardly gay, but they were really worried about the flaws of closeted. I mean, just culturally, anybody who was gay was closeted in that window of time. I mean, the FBI from the inception of the FBI through 1995, 1996. I mean, there were people who you knew she was a lesbian, you knew this guy was gay, but he was kind of just cool about it. He wasn't necessarily out in that he ever talked about it, but he wasn't, he wasn't going.
It was like the don't ask, don't tell type thing.
Yeah, that was the era, right? It was the Clinton era of don't ask, don't tell in the military, and we just sort of kind of adopted that as sort of our way of understanding the world. The whole thing is very ironic, right? Because J. Edgar Hoover was a gay guy in a long-term committed relationship with Clyde Tolson, his assistant director. I mean, they lived together, they slept together. And but he would be the first person to kind of drum anybody out of the FBI who he even suspected being gay.
See, that's the thing I always tell my community is our biggest threat is not straight people. It's closeted or other gay people who are like projecting. Because it's always every politician that is super anti-gay, always comes out, like me included, and other sex workers have outed how many politicians now, like that were openly anti-gay, like trying to push legislation that was like suppressing or
big time evangelical Christians who are found like balls deep inside their press secretary. Yeah, I get it.
I know. And so, okay, were they more harsh on gay men or gay women?
Culturally, gay men, because there's a bit of macho posturing involved in law enforcement, and the idea of not kind of fitting into that square-jawed G-man thing was more offensive. Whereas a lesbian is inherently tough in the way they're viewed. They're kind of tough. They're able to do as many push-ups as you are and stuff like that. And so
they're probably less worried about inner relationships amongst the agency.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing was so ill-conceived though, because we all may have secrets that if the Russians found out about it, we could be a target, right? A guy who's cheating on his wife, or a guy who has some weird addiction, or he's gambling, or has anyone with some deep, dark secret in their lives. We all have secrets in our lives. Based on this line of thinking, could in fact be a target for blackmail. And so the idea of singling out this one aspect of a small percentage of our society as being the real ones with the Achilles heel makes no sense. And so, in 1998 or so, then gay people began to serve openly in the FBI.
And do you feel like since then it's much more chill at the agency?
Yeah, well, again, it's also generational, right? When the millennials come in to kind of, after the Gen Xers, millennials being gay is like the least interesting thing about any person in their life. They're like, it's just nothing to it. And so, I served on lots and lots of squads with gay men and women and gay couples and married couples who were both FBI agents and stuff like that, who are same sex. And so
there's lots of openly gay.
There's nothing to it. Yeah, it's no big deal.
Yeah, they don't even care if you're like femme or flamboyant or whatever. Like,
no, again, I think the ability to present yourself professionally, whatever that means, and behave as an FBI agent, more important than that. So there. I mean, I don't know any gay FBI agents who I would describe as like super queenie, but we kind of, that's just not how we behave as FBI agents, right?
And what about trans folks?
There were some trans agents. I never worked with them. There was
so they're not quite as oppressed as what I assume they might, because that's kind of the era we're in right now.
I have never walked a mile in their shoes, and so I'm sure people treat them poorly. We had a trans intern when I was an FBI agent who was I always have to do the math in my head, a trans male, a trans man And he was a sharp young guy and just a really nice guy to be around and very respectful to the agents. He was like a support employee, like helping us out.
That's more than I expected, to be honest.
Yeah,
like I was expecting them to still kind of be like, don't hire them. They might have mental health issues.
Yeah.
Because some people do treat trans as like completely a mental health issue.
There was a trans agent out west that might have probably been the first openly trans woman, and who was, like a SWAT team or something like that. And that was kind of the talk of the nation when that happened.
Really?
Yeah. And and so, but it was, it was groundbreaking. It was, I never worked with any trans agents that I know of.
All right, here's a great question.
Yeah.
How do you think AI will impact the FBI in a positive or negative way?
I think in a positive way. I think, the ability to synthesize large amounts of information fast is, the ability to feed a bunch of documents that I got from a search warrant into an optical character recognition scanner and have a computer kind of connect the links and compare the bank statements to the phone records. I would have killed for that when I was an agent. Kash Patel, whether you like him or hate him, had a statement today about AI in the FBI, indicating that agents are using an AI platform to kind of facilitate their investigations. I don't know if that's true or not, but he said it.
All right. Yeah. No, I think
I'm 5 years out now, Crush. So you got
to
not at the tip of the spear anymore.
All right. So let's get into some of your stories. I know you said you have some Grindr stories for me.
Yes, I do.
And I have been doing my best not to do my own research, because like when you told me I've got some Grindr stories, I'm like, oh, I already want to know. So let's get into some of your stories about the FBI and like.
All right, these are my gayest stories.
Your gayest stories with the FBI. That should have been my title of the stream: the gayest stories between the FBI.
The FBI gay squad. Yeah. All right, no, let me ask you first, because we're going to be talking about Grindr. Are you
Let's do it.
Grindr? Have you ever been on Grindr? Is that a thing for you?
I have been on Grindr. I got banned.
What?
So because I used my stage name, Crush Daddy, as my Grindr account, two things happened. One, a lot of impersonators would pretend to be me on there and try to scam people, which I guess kind of perfect for you. You're an anti-scam FBI agent.
Yeah.
And we'll get more into that, because in porn and sex work in general, there's a ton of scamming. And then they just saw it as me promoting myself, like promoting my content. Okay. And that's not allowed on there, on any of the dating sites. Like you can't promote OF or anything like that. No.
All right.
And a lot of times if they find out you're a sex worker in general, like escorting, stuff like that, which I have done, which I'm pretty sure like in the national database that everyone gets, I'm labeled as adult content creator, sex worker. So they just find that out and then they just ban me, because I get banned pretty much from everything real fast.
Now, were you on there to hype your content, or were you on there to meet dudes and get laid, or what?
The second I got on there to get laid. But because it's hard to detach myself from who I am professionally, I think I'm just seen as a high risk human to be on any kind of safe for work.
Yeah, educate me a little bit. Is Grindr regarded as a hookup site, or are people there looking for like long-term relationships, or is it a little bit of everything?
I think you can. Like I know of people that have gone into a committed relationship who met on Grindr, but I think the primary purpose is to hook up with somebody.
Like, I'm in Milwaukee for the weekend, I want to get laid.
It goes a step further. It tells you how far away they are.
like by miles or yards?
Feet.
You can be in a bar and like honing in on a dude.
Yeah. I've been on there and like no joke. This was my favorite way to use it, was to see who's DL. That was my favorite way to use it. Like, you can be in a gym.
I'm an idiot. What's DL?
Down low. So like you're hiding it. You're closeted.
Okay.
So it means down low. So like I'll be in the gym and like I'll open up my Grindr to see who in the gym, because it'll be like 17 feet away, 8, whatever, and look at find the people in there, So it wasn't even to hook up with them. It was more just like, because they're in like, you'll be in a movie theater, whatever, and there'll be like a guy with his wife and kids, and I can see him on Grindr.
Wow.
Like, you know what I mean? So it was more like, it was, I got it originally to like as a dating hookups thing, but by the end I was using it as a like investigation thing.
It feels like a dangerous game for closeted dudes.
Well, you know what I thought was a rumor until I witnessed it myself. Is whenever I'm somewhere where like you've heard of this, like the RNC or something comes to town.
Yeah.
That I witnessed it happen myself here in Houston. It definitely did. It didn't crash, but it was not working very well.
All the Republicans get to town, they're away from their wives.
And the websites we use, like Rentman, for, you know, like escorting and stuff like that, they all crashed too.
Wow.
So yeah, it was definitely, yeah, it was definitely
a grand old party, huh?
Yeah, it definitely it doesn't happen when the DNC goes down or whatever.
Yeah.
It all happens with RNC.
That's funny. All right, let me tell you a story of a Grindr user, 21-year-old Chance Seneca of Lafayette, Louisiana. Okay. Chance was a weird dude. He idolized a serial killer named Jeffrey Dahmer. Are you old enough to remember Jeffrey Dahmer or know who he was? Okay. Chance, he looked at Jeffrey Dahmer the way that like a young baseball player would look at like Babe Ruth. Like, this is the guy who's he wants to do it. So Chance,
you should probably say who Jeffrey Dahmer is, just in case anybody in chat doesn't know.
Was a Milwaukee, I think, serial killer who killed young gay men and cannibalized them, actually ate them. And eventually he was caught by, I don't know, the police or the FBI. And I think he got killed in prison. So after serving a life sentence. So Chance idolized Jeffrey Dahmer and says that his intention is to eat and preserve the bodies of his victims, just like Dahmer did. That's his goal. Okay? But Chance becomes fixated on the idea of killing gay people. And so where does he go? He goes to the dating app Grindr to meet up.
And is Chance gay?
A little unclear.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, it's not like he's in a committed relationship. He's like a weird loner, right? Like,
okay.
Loner guys. And so, but he wants to kill gay people. That's his whole thing.
Right.
And he meets a dude on the app, and they meet up to go on a date. Chance immediately kidnaps the guy, pulls a gun on him, kidnaps him at gunpoint, and takes the victim to an abandoned house, handcuffs the poor guy, and tries to murder him. I don't have a whole lot of details on what he did to murder the guy, but somehow the victim is able to survive and escape Chance, right? The victim calls the cops, and who calls in the FBI to assist in this investigation. The FBI goes and arrests Chance. During his interrogation, Chance is bragging about it. He said he wanted to be a serial killer of gay men, and he told the FBI agents that he plans to continue his murder spree until he's either caught or killed by police. Now, I think it was incredibly self-aggrandizing to call it a murder spree because his first attempt failed miserably, so it's not much of a spree. He said he told the FBI he spent months devising his plan on how he's going to do this. And fortunately for gay dudes everywhere, Chance was a bit of a screw up, and he failed to pull off his very first attempt at a murder dismemberment. He was charged. Now, that one thing that you might find interesting, and it's difficult in these cases, is that murder is not a federal crime unless it happens on a Indian reservation on federal land, or if you're crossing state lines to do it. And so he ends up getting charged with a civil rights violation for trying to violate the civil rights of this poor gay guy that he met on Grindr, and he ends up pleading guilty in the Western District of Louisiana. And so he ended up. Let's play a game. How much time do you think he got?
I'm hoping at least 20 years.
You're hoping?
At least.
Now, he didn't kill anybody.
Well, don't they treat attempted as almost the same thing?
Almost.
In some, well, I guess that's by state.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm guessing it's less.
I'm not saying that. I want you to give me your guess. I want you to name a number, and we'll see how close you are.
10.
10 years in prison.
All right, chat, everyone in chat, give us your best guess without Googling it. Without Googling it, let's give us your best guess. How many years? Wait, but he didn't get charged. He didn't get charged with murder, though. He got charged with.
He didn't kill anybody. He didn't kill anybody. He kidnapped a guy and brought him in.
So he got charged for kidnapping.
Tried to kill him. The dude escaped, but he expressed that this was his goal. This is
6 months probation, released on, or 6 months then released on probation.
That's
I'm gonna go a little bit more. I'm gonna go 18 months, released on probation after 12.
Wow, you're real
10
soft,
years, a few months.
right?
What?
He got 45 years in prison.
45 years.
The judge was not going to take any chances with releasing this guy.
Thank God.
Yeah. So,
Well,
yeah.
we've just gotten used to like,
I know.
we got a little bit used.
One
Let me tell you a story. Let me tell you a quick story. I'll do it real quick.
Yeah.
One of my ex-girlfriends in high school was being raped and molested by her stepfather.
Okay.
Me and my mom got involved. We got him to confess over phone, or a tapped phone call with, well, not tapped. She went into the police station, called him, got him to confess in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
They took all that to court, used it as evidence. He got 1 year. He plead no contest, which I don't even know how that really works. Plead no contest. He got 1 year in jail, released in 4 months on probation.
Yeah, it's a shame.
That was in California.
Right.
Like, and that's when I lost faith, a lot of faith.
I get it.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next Grindr story.
Next Grindr story.
We have a Nigerian guy living in Chicago. Okay. 28-year-old Nigerian man. His name is Omarui Uwede. Nigerian. Lives in Chicago. He would go on Grindr and to meet young guys, and then he would solicit sexually explicit photos from the guys. Okay. And once he had their information, he would try to extort them for money and or sexual favors. Okay. You get this somewhere. Basically taking in a dick pic, and then once he gets it, he's basically saying, listen, a lot of these guys on Grindr, and again, you know this more than I do, are not out to their families as being gay yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, Omar, we'll call him, Omar would threaten the victims, many of whom were out, saying that if they don't pay him or meet him for gay sex, he was going to find out who their parents are and send these photos to their parents.
Blackmail. Yeah.
Extortion, right?
Yeah.
And he followed through on his threats. It wasn't just talk. There was an Ohio State student who failed to pay him $200 or meet him for sex. Omar created a false social media account in this kid's name that said, quote, "This guy is gay, see pics for evidence." And that's how this kid's parents found out the kid was gay. And he did this to dozens of young men across America.
So he would get the solicited, unsolicited pictures, use it to extort them. All right.
And if they wouldn't meet with him for sex or pay him cash, he would create social media accounts under their name and begin like tagging their parents and stuff like that, and it basically outing them.
And so if, let's say someone, I don't know what the right word would be, like we're scared of the extortion, followed through, is that considered rape?
Rape again is not a federal crime. It would
Jesus Christ.
Well, no, I mean, not everything's a federal crime. It doesn't mean it's a nice thing to do. I mean, it's coercive sex. Rape, I was never a police officer, right? So, and even when I was at the FBI, sex crimes weren't my thing. So there's any number of crimes you could charge this guy with.
Because I'm sure the people who he ended up blasting are just the people who didn't follow through, right? Which we don't know how many.
Right, exactly. But so he did this enough, though, that there were enough victims who either paid him off or got him off, who called the FBI. And the FBI launched an investigation. And the results were better than usual because a lot of these extortion scams, the bad guy is in some other country, Ukraine, India, or Nigeria. Mm-hmm. Guy who happened to be in Chicago of Nigerian descent. And he was charged with 22 counts of cyber stalking and extortion after the FBI arrested him. and he pled guilty in federal court.
So how does that become federal? Like, so when does it, like, is it because it was over the internet?
Yeah. The use of interstate wires, basically the internet, makes it federal, or gives the federal government the right of first refusal.
Oh, they just paid him off or got him off. All right.
How much time are you going to give Omar?
Well, now I want to say 60 years, because there's probably a lot of counts on that one.
22 counts of cyberstalking and extortion.
So each one, okay, so let's do like 100, let's do 200 years, because if each one was 10 years, 220 years, he got off in 60.
You're adorable, Crush. He got 51 months.
51? What? So it's really up to the judge, huh?
The judges have a lot of discretion.
Jesus Christ. There's no consistency.
Yeah.
Damn.
It happens. But again, the crime of extortion is just different than the crime of kidnapping, right? They just see it as two different things.
Yeah, damn. Okay.
Right.
So before you go to the next one,
yeah, sure.
Some of my fans are aware of this one. It happened 2 years ago. I was semi-involved with an FBI investigation related to sex crimes. And I want to hear your thoughts on it. In my industry, we talked about it at lunch, but I'm going to repeat it just so that people can hear it. There's a thing called the bait and switch, so if let's pretend you're a brand new and you're younger, you're in your 20s, person who's trying to enter the industry, and you're trying to get yourself out there, and you're hitting up studios, you're making your own content, and then a relatively big studio, it appears to be a big studio, got a lot of followers. You reach out to these studios. One studio reaches back out to you, says, hey, we'll hire you for a scene, a very basic boyfriend, girlfriend scene. We'll pay you X amount and we'll fly you out on this date. So you go, yes, I'll do it. It's all verbal at this point. Usually a lot of it is verbal until you show up.
Right. You
get there and they say, all right, now, and there's a lot more people than you were expecting. And they're like, all right, we're changing it to an interracial gangbang. And a lot of times when you're brand new like that, and it doesn't even matter if you're new or not, like you might not be comfortable. You feel like, well, when I agreed, it was supposed to be this. And now I'm showing up and you're saying it's this. They want to back out. And they're like, hey, I don't feel comfortable with this. This is not what you told me it was going to be. Then they say, all right, well, we're not going to pay you and we're going to cancel your flight back. And so you have to remember, a lot of people that get into this, a lot of people do get into this business because they're desperate. I didn't, but a lot of people do. Into any sex work business, as you're aware. Then they feel kind of forced, and then
it's kind of like human trafficking, it's like, right. You have someone come in to pick lettuce and you take their passport away and you don't pay them enough to go home.
Right. And another thing, they'll make threats like, well, we'll blacklist you from the industry. We'll tell other producers not to work with you, not to hire you because you're hard to work with. So then they feel kind of coerced in it. And this happened to a friend of mine. And she ended up filming it. And it got a little bit messy because the producer that was supposedly paying her involved himself in the scene, which I know that's where it gets very gray area illegal, because in the definition of prostitution is the person paying the person can't be involved on camera. And I think that I know for sure state by state that's a law, but I might be federal. Okay. But she told me about this and said she was too scared to do anything. She asked them to take the video down. They wouldn't take the video down. They ended up not even paying her as much as they verbally agreed and like all this stuff. So I made a post. I put it on Twitter, telling her story, keeping her anonymous, and blasting the production company. It goes semi-viral on Twitter. Next thing I know, like 18 girls message me saying this happened to me too with that guy. And some of them had stories like, not only did he do all that. I flew there and there was no studio. It was just him in his hotel room. And he said, we're not even going to film it. And didn't even book her a hotel room and did the whole, I'm going to cancel your flight. So she had to stay in his hotel room. She got herself drunk to force herself to do it. So she had to drink in order to be able to do it morally. Did it, came back, felt like shit, felt like she couldn't say anything. So I put all of this out. Next thing I know, lawyers are involved. Lawyers are calling me. I'm getting threats legal threats from him, but also some of his people were sending me death threats. And I was like, awesome, you're giving me receipts.
Yeah.
I was like, you are such a dumb criminal. Like, I just passed all that along to the lawyers.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been completely uninvolved because I didn't have any my only involvement was putting it on social media. And like none of the defamation threats that they gave me, all that ended up, I knew that it wouldn't hold up. None of it went through. None of the death threats went through. I've never been in harm's way, but the FBI has apparently gotten involved. Okay. And they're now trying to get him in Texas and in Florida on what they call forced prostitution.
Yeah. Sure.
Which I didn't know there was like different categories to that crime, but like apparently that's what they're trying to. I don't know if they did end up getting him, but the FBI is or was involved with that case that I was in.
It should be. It's exactly the type of sex trafficking that the FBI should be involved in. You know, it involves coercive sex, it involves fraud, it involves the interstate wires, it involves travel. I mean, it's kind of a case custom made for why we have an FBI.
Yeah. That's why I'm actually like, I'm not so black and white. Like I hate all law enforcement because like in those cases, that's what they're there for.
In the two Grindr stories I just told you is the FBI to the rescue. And so I'm hoping that there's folks out there who are kind of in the scene that they can realize that the FBI has the ability to kind of make this a safer world for everybody.
Yeah.
All right, let's do the next one. Let's talk about vacation sex. Not you and me, but the idea of vacation. A fellow by the name of Chad, we'll call him. I don't know his real name, but we'll call him Chad. He's going to be heading down to the Dominican Republic, and he wants to get laid while he's down there on vacation in DR, right? So what's he do? He hops on Grindr, and he connects with a good-looking Latino dude named Sebastian. And so he and Sebastian make a date. Sebastian's going to come pick him up at his resort, and they were going to go do whatever dudes do. And Chad's actually very relieved when Sebastian shows up to see that he is the real guy from the app, that it's not some catfish situation, right? Now, while the one thing to understand is that Sebastian, now Chad didn't know this at the time, his real name, he was really 30-year-old Davy Delgado, a Venezuelan national living in the Dominican Republic. Okay? He's using the name Sebastian in the DR on Grindr. And so while Davey is driving him down the road, he pulls over his car, and one of Davey's friends, the Sebastian character, hops into the back seat. The friend takes a serrated knife and holds it to Chad's throat, the American boy, and takes Chad's phone, his watch, and his wallet. And then they made Chad call his family back in the USA and tell them that Chad had been kidnapped and that the kidnappers are going to kill him if the family doesn't wire $2,000 to a Dominican currency exchange. His mom and dad do that, and they take him there. The money arrives. They take him to the currency exchange. They go in, get the $2 grand, and they dump Chad out on a random Dominican Republic street without his phone or his money. Okay, you understand what just happened? Davey and his accomplice did this 2 more times to 2 different American tourists. And all three of these tourists, none of whom knew each other, they go back home and they make a report to the FBI about what happened to them when they were overseas. Okay, the FBI has treaties with countries to cooperate between law enforcement agencies in different countries. The Dominican Republic is one of those countries that we have a mutual legal assistance treaty with, and so the FBI puts pressure on the Dominican authorities to solve this crime. And the investigators identify Davey as the kidnapper, and they recover the serrated knife from Davey's car when they did a search warrant of it. Again, the Dominican authorities are the ones who are doing the legwork at this point because the FBI has no authority in the Dominican Republic. The accomplice who held the gun to the throat was never caught. But Davey, because he's Venezuelan, the Dominican Republic is like, we'd be thrilled to extradite him to the U.S. for trial. They send him to the U.S., to Washington, D.C., to face kidnapping charges. Davey takes the case to trial. A 2-week trial happened, and the jury found Davey guilty of taking Americans as hostages abroad, which is a crime here in the U.S. to kidnap Americans overseas. Your government's looking out for you, Crush. And so we were able to get this one guy, this kind of this grinder predator off the streets in the Dominican Republic where he was targeting Americans on Grindr. How much time are you going to give Davey Delgado?
70 years.
70 years.
Yeah, because he's a foreigner.
You want your tax dollars going for his charity?
Yeah, and wait, what year was this?
This was a couple years ago. This was a
Yeah. Oh, yeah, like 70 years. Yeah, because the relations with Venezuela have not been great.
Yeah, right.
They're gonna try to make an
The
example.
judge gave him 25 years.
It's so hard to predict these things.
Yeah, yeah. And so he gets out of prison when he's 55 years old. I think he won't have a whole lot of fight left in him at that point.
Damn, 55 years. So, like, if someone gets sentenced to 55, that means they can get out.
Nah, see, in the federal system, they did away with parole. There's no parole in the federal system.
Oh.
What happens, though, is that you have to serve 85% of your sentence in prison, and then the last 15% can be in a halfway house.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Wow. Are you glad you?
Okay. What's your question?
Are you glad you weren't involved in these types of crimes when you were at the FBI?
No, I think these are great investigations.
Yeah.
Again, you need a nerd like me to do the financial crimes and the Ponzi schemes and stuff like that. But I think these are the most important kind of cases in the FBI. Honestly, I think the idea of protecting Americans from predators online, whether they're gay or straight, is a good thing the FBI does. And I think that, as we discussed, the FBI has not over the past 125 years always been super kind to gay people. So the idea of being able to work cases like this and kind of bring some justice to the community, it just makes sense to me ethically. Yeah,
and I'm glad they're doing, especially, they're doing it the last few years. Like, they're not, because sometimes I always felt like law enforcement stayed away from LGBTQ things, especially local law enforcement. Like, even like it's escorting, it seems like they're always after the girls and their pimps and stuff like that. And they just leave whatever's happening with gay dudes alone. Because like it's much more public and like not a secret with the gay escorting. It's like, no one's even trying to hide it. It seems like. Right. But the one thing I will say is it does seem to me that the one big difference between gay escorting and straight escorting is there's very rarely pimps involved.
Yeah, we talked about that at lunch. That's really interesting to me. Is it because the men are just physically stronger and have the ability to protect themselves?
I don't know, because not all escorts are like me, and most of them are not like me.
Right.
So it's like, is it a cultural thing? Is it there's an issue systemically on the straight side of sex work? Mm-hmm. Because even in the porn industry, I have seen very few cases where I felt something was sketchy. I have, but it seems to be less culturally embedded in the industry of like predatory practices. Mm-hmm. I can only think of 2 cases where I've ever been like, this feels weird. In my industry, where I felt like something was predatory, where I can count on my fingers how many times I felt on the straight side of porn things were a little bit predatory.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's just because it's like just men involved on one side, and on the other one it's men and women, which causes a power dynamic.
I think it has to be it, right?
Yeah. And like, so how does the FBI like deal with, like, for example, pimps, which is, I think, a huge problem right now in the U.S.
Yeah. So I was bait for a operation called Operation Cross Country, where I would go to a hotel room and FBI analysts would go online and identify what they thought were teenage female prostitutes, like, hoping that some of them were underage, but trying to get the younger types, contact them and pretending to be me and inviting them to my hotel room for sex for money. And I'd be sitting there in the hotel room. The girls would come into the hotel room. I would negotiate sex for money with them. And then the girls would be placed kind of under arrest, in the most gentle arrest you've ever seen, to bring them into another room with social workers who would try to either get them into rehab if they wanted to do that, or away from their pimps, but also to interview the girls about who their pimps were. Meanwhile, we had FBI agents and an interdiction team in the parking lot of the hotel, try to identify the pimps, stop them, identify who they were, search their vehicles if we can get consent to search, but mostly just walk away with all the intel. The girls were not being. We viewed the female prostitutes in this case as presumptive victims of human trafficking. At the very least, many of them were addicts, and that's what was driving them to do it. And we're trying to get them the help we need while we are identifying who the pimps are, so we can actually build a enterprise case against them. Instead of throwing them in prison for one night and letting them bond out, bring like a racketeering conspiracy case against them for interstate sex trafficking. And so identifying who they are and some of the girls, then you get their phone records, then you get their bank records, you kind of build out a much bigger case against these pimps, which seems like a way more humane way to do it, rather than just continuing to throw prostitutes in prison without addressing the underlying issue of the people who are trafficking.
Oh, here's an interesting statement.
Turns out that playing a 50-year-old guy who couldn't get laid is the role I was born to play.
Do you think prostitution should be legalized?
I have, as long as we can get rid of the coercive element, and then I guess if you could license it, tax it, give the girls STD tests or whatever. I mean, like our Amsterdam does. I don't know. It seems like a pretty sensible way to do it. I just worry about the psychological harm to some of these girls, and I don't know. I feel like a prude saying this, especially to you, but I'm still hesitant about that as a thing, because I don't know what's going on. That if every girl was like you, kind of walking into this thing with their eyes wide open, sex work is work, and blah, 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 blah. I fear that a lot of the female prostitutes, whether they're going into it coercively or on their own, are dealing with some serious psychological damage and issues. And I mean,
even I openly admit, like, I'm glad I got into this business in my 30s and sober. I think I was sober 6 years already. Right. And like, I can't imagine and I've seen it. I've been with people. I'm like, you should probably not be in this industry yet. Right. Like you're not mentally mature enough to handle it.
Right.
And I do agree. I think it's a larger conversation where like sex, where it should be like, nicotine, alcohol, where it's like you can do it after the age of 25 or something, like they do with like rental cars. Sure. Where it's like, like I still feel like, because like even in porn, like I most of the time refuse to work with someone under the age of 25. And I refuse to work with people who are brand new to the industry, where like it's like they might 6 months later be like, take everything down. Like, I don't want it. My parents, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I think it is more complicated than just saying yes or no. You can't just say legalize it. There needs to be another conversation after that. But I do think a big problem is because it's illegal, the criminals are using it as a means of income generation, and it makes them the only ones that have access to that industry, and they're the ones regulating it, and not the police, and not the
Then you get into how much of your tax dollars do you want to go toward, what regulatory infrastructure are we going to need to build out as a government to kind of, to make sure that the people aren't being exploited. I mean, that's the whole thing, right? I mean, someone wants to pay for sex, and everyone knows what they're getting into. I'm not going to clutch my pearls about that, but I just worry about the prostitutes involved and the extent that they're truly acting according to their free will.
Right, I agree. And like, Billy in chat just said, if it's two consenting adults, doesn't seem like a problem.
Agreed.
Like, I've never
where that consent is coming from, right?
Right.
Small C consent of she came here willingly is different than the big C consent on what kind of damaged soul are we dealing with who has chosen to go into this particular line of work because of the psychological damage she may have had from a molesting parent or something.
Right.
I mean, you have to, we have to go into this with our eyes wide open and say a lot of the women going into this thing, it's consensual in that they're not doing this at the tip of a sword, but maybe the more humane thing would be to get them the psychological help or the addiction help that they need.
Mm-hmm.
So they can make an informed choice about what they want their future to be like.
I'm going to say this though. I think the vast majority of people who do sex work are not mentally ill.
Good.
And are very mature. Here's the problem. Because it's illegal, you don't see the good stories on the news.
Right.
Like me, I'm an example of like, it's the best thing that ever happened in my life. Like I have more mental trauma from working in corporate office jobs. Like I have way more mental health issues from working at like established Fortune 500 companies in with a very prestigious job where like the way I was manipulated or treated or what would be another good example? Like just the way I was used in those companies were much more damaging to me than the way I've been treated in the sex industry. Because like I would have a lady named Debbie that can at HR that can basically or my boss that can just fucking control my whole life. But because she's giving me a paycheck, I have to. Like that to me, I felt more of a whore then than I did when I was actually.
There's right. Exploitation looks different in different ways, right?
Right.
Like, we have no problem with people working in sweatshops, but then when the women get into sex work to try to make their lives better in third world countries, it's exploitive. So I get it.
The other thing I'll say is though, the weird thing for me is things like strip clubs, right?
Yeah.
Totally legal, very regulated.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's like a gray area, I think there's so much overlap of the illegal activity and the legal activity at a place like a strip club, right?
Like the women are prostitutes on the side, or they're doing stuff in the champagne room that crosses lines.
So I don't know if I'm right on this, but just from my general feel of the industry, especially in places like Florida, right, where I think sex trafficking is at a very high rate. I've seen more, like, this is how I see the pimps do it in Florida, especially. I see it here in Texas too, but I feel like it's so rampant over there. You can't miss it.
Yeah.
The pimps will get these girls, and my girlfriend even has many times saved women from pimps in Florida specifically and never had to here. These pimps will get these young girls in desperate situations, and they basically coerce them into a situation where they're like, hey, we'll let you live in this house. I'll take care of your food, transportation, all that. All you have to do is just give me all the money you make at the strip club, right? And that's how it starts. Yeah. Just go dance at this club. I'll get you the job there, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And then literally the pimps show up in like these Escalades filled with girls to the strip club every day. And they make them work like 7 days a week, and they have to make a certain amount of money. And then eventually they're fully pimping them out as escorts, and then they have to give them all the money, and then they're trapped in this house, right? Because they take their IDs, they do all this crazy, they have no credit cards, the pimp has to pay everything. And like in Florida, I remember I was at one club, and I mean, officially, I don't know if they were or not, but like I watched 7 pimps drop off a van of girls at a club.
Wow. And
it's like, it's like a weird gray area. It's technically legal than working at that strip club, right?
Yeah.
But then once I knew more of the girls there and stuff like that, and I knew what was really going on. It's like, I don't know if law enforcement is just missing something, or if because of this legal gray area, it's making it very difficult to do anything. But these pimps are the problem. They're the number one problem in the sex industry. It's the extortionist thing. And it's like, you know, I can't tell you how many pimps I've robbed in my life because they're actually a bunch of pussies. Like, I mean, total sidebar, but back when I was like a rampage criminal, I mostly robbed other dealers or pimps.
Yeah.
Because who they gonna tell?
Right.
They're not gonna call the cops.
Mm-hmm.
If I steal a drug dealer's drugs, who's he gonna fucking tell? Yeah. And so like pimps used to be one of my big targets, but because I know what I'm looking for. In places like Florida, I see a ton of pimping happening, and I wish that like you just go to the strip clubs and you'll it's so obvious that it's happening. Especially in places like Florida, where there's like 7 of them dropping off like 7 girls in an Escalade.
Yeah,
and these girls are usually Cuban.
I was gonna say, are these foreigners right out the boat?
Usually, right now it's Cuban girls. I know like 10, 15 years ago, there was a lot of Russian girls and Ukrainian girls.
Yeah.
But now it's Cuban girls mostly. Mm-hmm. And like, they're fucked. From talking to the girls, a lot of them don't even know they're being pimped out.
Wow.
You know, because of like the level of coercion, where like, if you look at, I've been to Amsterdam, I've been to Nevada, and you look at the legal brothels, it seems like such a healthier system. And a lot of those are run by women.
Right.
And I think that's a huge issue. Like, I even told my girlfriend, if I ever opened a strip club, I would never be there and I wouldn't run it. I would be a distant financer, but like, I would let women run that place because they'll probably do a better job of taking care of the girls than
the house moms in the back that are usually retired strippers, making sure the girls are.
Yeah. Here's a question from chat. What's the one most memorable case that you worked on that went unsolved?
Oh man. I got a fraud one and a really sad one. Which one do you want?
Let's go with both. Let's start with the fraud and end with the sad.
All right. So the fraud one was there's a couple, John and Julianne Demetrian. Bottom line is they were allegedly helping out distressed homeowners. And what they're really doing is just stealing the equity from their houses and kind of basically having them sign the houses open to John and Julianne. They would sell the house out from under the people, and the victims would be out on the streets. John and Julianne would take the money. They weren't helping people out at all. Their ability to stay in their house. They were buying matching Maseratis, and they were like big, high-rolling evangelical Christians. This is in Hawaii. I was an FBI agent in Hawaii for 7 years. And so they come in. We charge them. They come in. They plead guilty. And then they leave Hawaii and they escape from Hawaii before their sentencing. And that was 15 years ago, and I still have been unable to find them. They are smarter than I am, and they're better at hiding than I am at manhunting. And so if anyone sees John and Julianne Demetrian around, tell them I'm no longer an agent. Let's go get a beer or something.
So they just ran. They
took off. It sounds like someone chartered a private plane for them, and it sounds like they flew out to Salt Lake City, and then were in cars on the way to Dothan, Alabama, and then the trail went cold. And they remained fugitives, wanted by the FBI, but I was unable to catch them.
How many years ago was that case?
15.
Damn, so people do get away.
Yeah, my guess is that they probably wound up in the Philippines or something like that, or they're living, which is stupid because they probably would have gotten 36 months for their crime, but now they get to spend the rest of their lives as fugitives, looking over their shoulders.
But Mike, here's my question. With something like that, like, isn't it easy to track the finance? Can't you freeze their accounts, or like how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, they are not living under their own names with bank accounts anywhere. That's for sure. By the time we caught them the first time before they disappeared, they had already burned through all the money they stole from people.
Interesting. Okay, what's the sad story?
Sad story. The Luke sisters, 5 years old and 7-year-old girls, waiting for the school bus. They don't come home from school. The mom's there waiting to take them off the school bus. They don't get off the school bus. The mom calls the school and says, "Are the girls still there? What's going on?" And the school's like, "The girls never showed up. They never made it to school." And she's like, "What do you mean?" And so something happened where they were apparently kidnapped while they were waiting to go to school that morning, because people saw them at the school bus, but they never got on that school bus that morning. And so I got called in as part of the team to investigate it and find out what happened to the Luke sisters. And Crushed, we figured it out. We solved it. We figured out that it was a double murder, that the little girls were murdered. We figured out who did it. We figured out why he did it. But we were never able to find the bodies of the girls. Okay. And
Wait, so how did you find out they did it? Because isn't the whole thing no body, no crime?
Well, no body, no charges for sure. I mean, we solved this thing. I mean, there's not a single, every single we know who did this, but we were never able to find the girls' bodies, and so we were unable to charge him with the murders of these two girls. I mean, we did a landfill search in case he threw the girls in the garbage. We spent like 10 days digging through trash and diapers and curry and the garbage dump to see if we could find the girls. We found, and we were looking for their Dora the Explorer backpacks they were wearing. We found tons of Dora the Explorer backpacks, none of whom were the girls' backpacks. And to this day, this double murderer of two little girls walks free.
What's his name?
I'm not saying. And
wow.
Because the day may come where we find the bones, we got to charge this guy. And
okay.
I'm not into frontier justice. This guy, we were unable to lie or burden of proof as the government and charge this guy. We didn't have the evidence to charge him with the murder. And so he walks around totally free.
So even if you find all the proof in the world that he killed them, if you can't find the bodies, you can't charge him.
There's been maybe a dozen cases in U.S. history in the 250 years we've been a nation where people have been charged with murder without the bodies. And this was not a case that would have held up in that.
Why wouldn't it hold up?
Because I would need to expose a little more of the evidence and the kind of the dynamics of what was going on and his motivation for doing it, which I don't want to do.
That makes sense.
But let me just say, if you and your viewers can just trust me that we are 100% certain who did this crime and why he did this crime, and we just don't know what he did with the bodies.
How many murders go unsolved?
Lots.
Really?
Yeah, but most murders aren't the FBI's problem. So
when does a murder become the FBI's problem?
This case was a situation where we were called in to assist the police. And so had we actually found the bodies, he probably would have been charged locally with the double murder. And then we would have just kind of served as consultants on the case.
Okay.
But
is it more when it's like international or when it's
if there's if someone's crossing state lines, if the murder involved interstate wires, if the murder involved organized crime, including gangs and the Italian mob and stuff like that, then the FBI might get involved with that. If it happens on an Indian reservation or a Native American reservation or on a military base, that's federal land. If it happens on an airplane or a cruise ship, I worked a murder on a cruise ship case where we the guy's still in prison right now for throwing his girl off the cruise ship balcony and to her death. And so those are the things that become federal jurisdiction for a murder.
Yeah, we got people in chat saying they got family members who are unsolved murders, who got killed, who are unsolved. That's crazy. Because the media makes it seem like they always catch everybody.
No,
I mean, like movies, everything, they make it seem like they catch everybody.
Yeah, I mean, look at this Nancy Guthrie case, right? I mean, that may go unsolved until you and I are in the grave. Who knows?
That's insane. You would think with everything we see on TV and with technology now that everybody gets caught.
I mean, it's definitely harder to get away with stuff these days.
Are those two that stick with you to this day? Those two cases?
Yeah, the fugitives is more just annoying to me. The husband wife fugitives that I couldn't, because they're morons, right? And I couldn't catch them, so I must be even real moron. But the child murder, yeah, I think about that one a lot. I think about it a lot. And I'm a parent. It's the worst.
What would you say was the case you worked on that you're the most proud of?
It's a good question. I mean, picking out your favorite case is like picking out your favorite kid.
But you feel like you did a good service to the world. You know what I mean? Like you're like, I'm really proud that I did this.
Okay, so after the 9/11 attacks of 2001, I was placed on a team there were some charities in Chicago, Islamic charities, that were taking money from good and honorable Muslims who were trying to funnel, telling them that they were going to give the money to the poor and needy. But in fact, they were funneling that money to Al Qaeda and other Islamist fighting groups. And
wow.
So we shut down those charities. We arrested the head of one of them. We deported a bunch of them. We seized their assets. And basically, I don't take personal credit for it, but those types of
you were part of the team.
were instrumental in cutting off the blood money to Al Qaeda that kind of fed things like the 9/11 attacks and the
God, why do people always use charity? That's why I'm so skeptical of charities. It's the same with like child predators. You always find them in like places where morally you look so superior. Like what happened in Boston. I was in Boston when that whole thing happened, by the way. And I'll tell you the story. There's some people in my industry that have done things like wear preachers' outfits and then work with like barely legal people.
Okay.
And I was like, no, that hits too close to home for me, man. Yeah. Like when that shit happened, it's like you always find the scammiest people in the most like you would think like morally high places, like religious institutions, education systems, charities. Like I feel like I find some of the worst people in places like that.
Yeah, well, it's funny. The next crime story I have for you, my last grinder story is exactly on target.
Let's go. I thought you were out of them. My bad. Let's go.
I got one more. So, okay, so let me set the stage. There's a university in California called the University of the Pacific in Stockton, California, and they had.
I know that university.
It was founded in 1851. It's the state's oldest chartered university, about 7,000 students, but that's not really what the story is about. But the school had a 48-year-old professor named Roger Gibbons. He was an evangelical Christian who studied at the Chicago Theological Seminary, and he had a PhD in human resource development. Okay, so but he had a double life, Rush. He had a profile on the gay dating app Grindr under the name Tall Laid Back. And he matched with a Fresno Grindr user named Ben, whose profile said he was a taboo-friendly uncle. What do you think that means? If you're a gay guy on Grindr and you see somebody whose profile says they are a taboo-friendly uncle, those words mean nothing to me.
Chat, hit me with your what that means to you, because I know the word uncle gets used a lot.
He's a taboo-friendly uncle, and the professor.
Taboo. The taboo part. That's a gray area. Because what does he mean? Does he mean BDSM or does he mean like illegal shit? Family-friendly kink. Dark humor, Vaughn. Jesus.
So the professor immediately asked Ben, the taboo-friendly uncle, if they can move the conversation off Grindr onto Telegram. You familiar with Telegram?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, as a texting app, it's fine, but there's a lot of sick shit that goes on in Telegram, right? And because Telegram refuses to cooperate with law enforcement. They're just a bright line. So as a result, it's a bit like the Wild Wild West. There's a lot of like, dysfunctional shit happening on Telegram. So in the Telegram chats, Ben, this guy, tells the professor that Ben has a 7-year-old niece with whom Ben is sexually active. Okay. And the professor on his own asks if he could travel to Fresno to meet and kind of sexually abuse this little girl. And so Professor Roger is explicit about his intentions. And here's a quote that he wrote in the chat. He said, quote, "It's totally not just a fantasy for me," end quote. And he promised to bring the little girl her favorite chocolate bar and an Ariel doll before he used her. Okay.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I know. So this isn't a single one-off conversation on Telegram. The professor was relentless, sharing with Ben that he's sexually into babies. And so these two guys are bonding via these Telegram chats over the shared interests. And Professor Ben was shocked when the FBI and the West Sacramento police basically show up at his house with a search warrant for his phone. It turns out that the online guy, Ben, who was on Grindr, was an undercover FBI agent running a sting operation to smoke out child predators on social media. Okay. And this taboo-friendly uncle thing must have meant something to the professor that it didn't necessarily resonate with you or I, because he immediately gravitated toward that and took the bait. So there is no taboo-friendly uncle. It was just a very clever FBI agent who had created this profile to smoke out sex.
So you guys do have plants.
Yeah, in this case, they certainly did. The court file is very explicit. Anyway, so the
Round of
search
applause.
warrant uncovers numerous Telegram chats, not only with the undercover agent, but other men with whom the professor was exchanging sex videos of young children being abused.
Mm,
The professor gets arrested by the FBI. He's charged with attempted enticement of a minor and distribution of child sex abuse materials. The professor took the case to trial, and the jury came back guilty. Okay. Professor Roger is currently awaiting sentencing, so you don't need to guess this one. But the judge has the opportunity to put him away for anywhere between 10 years is the minimum and life is the maximum.
I hope he gets life.
I hope so too.
I hope he gets his life taken for that.
Well, yeah, I don't.
Well, California still has it, right?
It has what?
Death penalty.
This is federal. Federal has always had death penalty, but this isn't going to be a death penalty case. This death penalty is not on the table for this because he didn't take anyone's life. In fact, there was no child who was truly in danger.
Interesting, yeah.
It was just a sting outbreak.
We in my industry, we just in 2024 had a case, 2024, 2025 of one of our biggest stars got busted for CP.
Really?
Mm-hmm. A massive network that he was running. And it was so bad for our industry because it was during the election when it happened.
Yeah.
And his name's Austin Wolf. And I remember I was following him on Instagram, and I luckily don't have any pictures with him because he was at all the events, all the conferences, everything, right? But even just because I didn't even know what was happening, and people were mad that I was still following him, but he's getting a minimum of 19 years. And he could potentially be facing life sentence because it wasn't just that he was making the content and distributing it. He had a massive distribution network.
Wow.
That he was distributing this content underground. And there's it was insane. And it was really bad for us, our industry as a whole, just image wise, but nobody knew. That was the crazy thing. Nobody that I knew that knew him, because everybody knew him.
Yeah.
Said they had any idea.
Producing or just trading existing images?
Producing.
That's the worst.
Mm-hmm. Everything from coercion, underage, and nothing super crazy young, but 16, 17-year-olds, still bad, still horrible. And then we had another good question here. They're filling up my chat so fast lately. Any advice for someone who wants to get into the FBI?
Yeah, sure. The first thing you need to do is get a college major. You need an undergraduate degree. The only competitive undergraduate degrees right now that the FBI is hiring is computer science, engineering, biology, chemistry, physics, accounting, finance, or law school. Okay. Don't waste your time majoring in criminal justice or criminology or psychology or economics or sociology. Those aren't competitive majors. If, however, you already have a major that's not competitive, the two ways you can remedy that are three ways. One, go to law school, become a lawyer, which is a long and expensive route to get in, but it could work. But the other thing you could do is become a police officer or a law enforcement officer from a different agency and do great things there and then apply to become the FBI or join the military. You have to be under age 37 to come in, and the average starting age of an FBI agent is 30.
The average age is 30.
The average starting age of an FBI agent is 30. Your first day at the academy. So it's a second career for most people, and the vast majority of FBI agents take a pay cut to go work for the FBI.
And can I ask you, what's the typical starting pay?
Depends what city you're in, but I would say probably right now it's around $74,000 a year. You'll get raises for over the 20-year period until you're making probably about $150, $160 a year, unless you want to go into management, in which case you could top out around $200 a year.
That's not a lot.
Not a lot. No.
That's why everybody goes into the private sector.
Yeah, the FBI is not looking for people who are motivated by money.
Isn't this a dangerous time to join the military?
You mean with the Iran war?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just a question somebody just asked.
It's likely that'll be resolved, for better or worse within the next couple months, certainly before the midterms.
Probably, yeah. And another thing that I wanted to ask you, what was like your most shocking moment in the FBI?
Rush, I wish I had more shocking stories.
Like one of the hardest, or just a hard time, like a time that you were struggling with something within the FBI.
Like physically or like emotionally?
Just
or
emotionally, physically. It just like where the job was, it was extremely stressful.
I'll give you a story, a brief story. I'm not sure if it necessarily falls neatly into your question, though. We had basically a missing senior citizen woman, a 60-something-year-old woman named Susan Malden in Jacksonville, Florida. And we had good evidence that a contractor who was working on her house killed her, threw her into a garbage dump. And the garbage dump here in the entire North Florida, all the garbage is brought to a giant landfill, like as far as the eye can see, garbage dump up in Georgia. And we're able to figure out the garbage dump that we believe. And so it was one of those situations where in order to charge this guy credibly with the murder, we needed to find Susan Malden's body. And she had no family. She was not like an influential or wealthy woman. She was just, she had no kids. She was never married. She was in a quilting group. And I was on the team of people who worked for like 14, 15 hours a day, digging through the trash at a landfill in Georgia, looking for Susan Malden's body. And you're aching, your back is aching, you're tired, it stinks. It's just the worst working conditions you can imagine. And on like day 12 or 13 of the search, we found her body. And so we were able to charge a guy named Corey Binderman. Again, I wasn't the case agent on this. I was just unskilled labor digging through a garbage dump. And so he was charged locally in Clay County, Florida, with murdering her, and he got life in prison. And so it was a really difficult time because it's just mentally exhausting because you're not doing any brain work at all. You're literally just standing there with like a pick and a shovel, going through trash, looking for a dead woman's body. And we found her. We were able to kind of bring her justice, and because she wasn't garbage. She was a nice lady, and she deserved to be avenged.
Someone just said, I just followed Simon, and apparently I'm late to the party. All my friends already follow him.
Well, I need you to make some new friends and have them follow me.
Yeah. And the other question I wanted to ask you is if you could go back to when you were 25 and do the FBI thing all over again, is there anything you would change or tell yourself back then?
Oh, it was a great life, Crush. Honestly, the reason that I'm 56 years old right now, and everyone in my age is doing the same thing. They're looking back on their life and saying, did my life really matter? And you never really need to ask yourself that question if you were an FBI special agent. I'm so happy with the way my life turned out. Had I remained at the accounting firm or kind of chased money or gone to law school and like done corporate contracts and stuff like that, I'd probably be going through a real crisis right now mentally about whether my life mattered or not, now that I'm entering kind of the last chapter of it. And but I can look back on the things I did and the justice I brought people, like that Susan Malden woman, very small part of that case, and say that I had a life worth living.
That's great. Yeah, I went through that type of thing with my life too, where it's like you a lot of people just live to make money.
Yeah.
And like I've made a lot of money before, and I make enough to live now where I just stay at home most of the time, which is pretty awesome. Like I tell everybody, like I live like a retired person, even though I don't make that much. I just get up every day and go, what do I want to do today? Like that's so much more. Like I've pushed my whole, even though like porn is my income, my whole platform has become like sharing everybody's perspective in a way that I want people to just be more kind to each other, because I had such a violent, crazy young adult life that was all based on these narratives of like these traditions that we are supposed to follow as people.
Yeah.
And I feel like, especially nowadays with social media and how polarized everything's become, that like people are really mean to each other.
It's terrible. Like the comment, nobody would deal with each other face to face the way that people deal with each other when they have the anonymity of a comment. Like, I mean, my own fans are like rip me to shreds, and
Yeah, me too.
yeah, and the incivility of people right now. We've really lost something.
Yeah, and it's almost like that you can hate law enforcement. Like there's this whole narrative, like LGBTQ in general is very left, right? But there's this whole narrative that like all law enforcement is just pigs, right? And like it's not true. Like yes, there are horrible things within law enforcement, but like you just told us how many stories, like especially the one in Dominican Republic. That one sits with me. I feel like I'm going to tell that story over and over, where like the FBI went out of their way to protect a member of the LGBTQ community.
Right.
Like out of their fucking way. Like they got other countries involved.
Yeah.
you know? And it's like you can't make such a black and white statement or like have such an opinion. Like I'm sure you've even expressed some grievances on the way the FBI is being run right now.
Yeah. Again, I think that on balance, law enforcement officers are trying to do the right thing. But I also, as kind of a straight, white, upper middle class guy, have not had to walk a mile in the shoes of the type of people who do get hassled by law enforcement. So I'm sensitive to that.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're like me. You hate scams with a passion.
Right?
Yeah. I think that's the one thing me and you have so much in common on, and I wanted to talk a little bit about it with you because we talked about it for a short time. One of my things I'm so passionate, it's like I feel like the world, just in general, has become what I call the extraction model. Everyone is just trying to extract as much as they can out of everyone else. And some people are more sick. It's like, and it's almost like we live in a world where the more scammy you are, the more successful you are. And we see it all the time where every company is just, how can I bait you into spending as much of your money as possible on us? Where I feel like at some point in my life, I'm in a weird generation. I was born in 91.
Okay.
So like I kind of watched, like I was in my teens and early adults. It was mostly in my 20s when social media took off.
Sure.
Right. So like I as a child, I kind of saw what the old world was like before social media. And and scams have always been a thing, obviously. Yeah. But like, I feel like there was a time where businesses or people, the way they tried to survive was to provide a service or a product that benefited the customer, and then the customer benefited them by paying for it. And it was like a mutual exchange. Whoever provided the best service or the best product was the most successful. So the one that now it's just, how do I get you? How do I get you to give me as much of your money? I will lie. I will cheat. I will make you think you're getting more than you're getting. And I feel like that's just what everyone's doing. And I preach, sorry guys, I know I preach about this a lot. In the OnlyFans business, or like the fan site business that has blown up in the last 5 years as kind of like a new way of approaching porn, even with free porn. Most free porn is advertising for paid porn. I think like 80 to 90% of the business is a scam. The business that I'm in.
Like, so I mean, like they're not giving people the content they think they're going to get when they subscribe.
Not necessarily. Yes, that too. Like, I'll give you an example. I subscribed to a creator a month ago because I was more curious how they were doing things. And the whole thing, they made it seem like they were selling sex videos of themselves, like videos of them having sex with other people. Yeah. And then you get on, so you pay like, it was $15 per month was the subscription, which I think is high because that's like what Netflix charges. and then they, in their bio, it says, I provide all this stuff. And I subscribe, and there's nothing special on the other end of the subscription. And now what you have to see to actually see more, you need to pay per video. Okay. So then I look for the video I want, and it's like And I'm like, okay. And then that video was $30. So I was like, okay, so now I'm out $45. I haven't even, I just finally see something.
Yeah.
And then the video, I was like, the video she advertised it as like me and my friend having sex with this guy.
Okay.
And then in the end, it was just her watching her friend having sex with this guy. Like there were so many steps of deception until you got there, right?
Yeah.
And like that's generally that story that I just told you is like super common across the industry to the point where I feel like it should be illegal. Like it's quote unquote false advertising. You're telling people.
And tell me this: the guard against things like that are the equivalent of like Google reviews or Amazon reviews for the quality of a product. Does OnlyFans have a situation like that where? No, see that would be, it's a one-stop solution then, right? So if there was some sort of ability for actual users to leave a review, like, you know, I do this all the time. Like people contact me saying I need a divorce, or I need can you recommend a private investigator in Des Moines, Iowa? I don't know a private investigator in Des Moines, Iowa. You know what you can do though? You can go to Google and type in private investigators in Des Moines, Iowa, and look at all the guys. And the good ones are going to have a ton of 5-star reviews, like I have, and the shitheads are going to have either 1-star reviews or no star reviews. OnlyFans should have something like that for the people who are doing baits and switches and nonsense and putting you on money escalators. That it would solve the problem tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. I wish they would. Like, that's fuck. I haven't even thought about a review system for that, but that is a great, great solution to that problem. They probably won't do it because OnlyFans makes money off of these people scamming people. Like they don't, you know what I mean? Like,
well, so does Amazon, but they still have reviews.
But there's even, but isn't even reviews like I've seen tech YouTubers.
Yeah, but there's ways you can do it. Like, okay, if OnlyFans wanted to hire me to be a consultant, I would send it the review so only people who have actually paid for that particular site get, you know, who aren't hitting from the same IP address as the creator can leave reviews. Can it be doctored? Yeah, but at some point, a dozen people who are getting ripped off by that, their reviews are going to be rising to the top of being of interest to the users.
Yeah, that. God, I wish they would do something like that now that I thought about it. Yeah. And they take 20% of every transaction that happens. So the problem is, I feel like we're at a weird turning point where, like, I think Gen Z's figuring it out that everything's a scam because they're not doing anything that we did.
Right.
You know, they're not even going to bars because bars have become a scam. You know, like, you go to a bar, it's like, even movie theaters. Remember when I was a kid, movie theater, my mom would give me a $20 bill and I could take me and my friend to a movie theater and we can get a popcorn and drinks and a hot dog with a $20. And then she would expect change if I didn't bring change back. Right? She would be pissed. But now I went with my dad for the first time in like 7 years that I've gone to a movie theater.
What'd you see?
I don't remember. It was terrible.
Okay.
Because most movies are so bad now. Hopefully the one we're in won't be bad, but a lot of movies are bad nowadays. And I think he just turned 60, so he was able to get the like senior discount or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And we bought a popcorn, 2 drinks and a hot dog and 2 movie tickets, and it was $86.
Wow. Yeah, that's expensive. And then you got to sit through 30 hours of previews and commercials before the movie starts.
Yeah, the preview for this movie was definitely better than the movie itself. It was an OnlyFans scam. They put all the best parts of the movie in the preview, and then they were just like, we just need to get him to show up. We don't. And okay, so how do we contact Simon if we have PI questions? Somebody asked.
Okay. So you can go to my website, simoninvestigations.com. I work in all 50 states, and I do free consultations, especially to Crush's fans. You can contact me you go to my Instagram or my TikTok at Simon Investigations. There's a link tree there, which has my phone number. I'm a one-man shop. If you call my number, I'm the guy who's going to be answering. And I'll always make time for your referrals if you know someone who needs a private investigator.
You really are not scared of stalkers. Put your
Monthly services. Yeah, I mean, I've had stalkers. You block them and move on.
You don't know how many cameras I have around my house.
Well, you're in a different industry. You're a
All right.
hardcore
Another
man.
question is, if I want to see more of Simon, what's the best place for me to go see?
I think my Instagram is probably the best way to, SimonInvestigations.com. And there's also a YouTube channel called Inside True Crime with Matthew Cox. If you go to the playlist and click on the Tom Simon playlist, there's me telling crime stories for there's probably 20 episodes of me doing 2-hour episodes of me telling crime stories with a co-host named Matthew Cox.
I'm finding the link to that now.
Inside True Crime with Matthew Cox on YouTube, then go to playlists and then go to the Tom Simon playlist.
That's what I'm looking for. Filters. Why does YouTube make this so difficult?
I know, it's a nightmare. Or just if you hop on YouTube and type in Tom Simon FBI, you'll find a ton of videos with me. I'm overexposed.
Tom Simon. This guy, Matthew Cox, has been everywhere lately.
Yeah.
Here's the playlist. Got it.
Yeah.
At age 17,
And so there's probably 20 episodes of me.
me.
Each one's about 2.5 hours. So that's I don't get paid for that, but he does. So make him rich.
Yeah, but you'll probably get lots of clients through stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean that's the doing content and interviews and shows like this is the loss leader for me to kind of bring people into I also do public speaking. If someone is part of a club or organization that brings in outside speakers, I would love for you to connect me with the person who hires speakers for you guys. I do a pretty good live show.
Are you standing this whole time?
I am. I'm a stand-up desk.
Yeah, someone's like, has he been standing this whole time? Let this man go sit down.
My legs are getting.
I really
Sitting is the new smoking, Crush.
Huh?
Sitting is the new smoking. You should get a stand-up desk.
I have a stand-up desk.
Okay, good.
This I can move it up and down. I just literally never do.
Yeah.
But yeah, he said I fucking knew it. He's starting to lean on his feet. His feet hurt. I had a great time. I can talk to you forever about stuff because I'm so curious. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it.
I did.
Yeah.
We always have good conversations, and this one's just being broadcast out to the world.
Yeah, and I'm sure when our movie is released next year, I'm sure we should do another one.
Okay.
Yeah.
The movie company, the studio, has premiered movies at South by Southwest in Austin. So with a little luck, next March, the movie will be premiering at South by Southwest in Austin.
Oh shit! So that's here in Texas.
Yeah, here in Houston, right?
So are you gonna go to the premiere?
Fuck yeah! Unless I end up on the cutting room floor.
Well then I'll see you there.
I don't know how you can edit my scene out without giving too much away. Like it has to happen.
True.
Right?
I don't think about these things. I'm really bad.
In the plot, the story. I don't have a big part. I'm probably going to be in the movie for the last 90 seconds. But
yeah.
But the movie needs to end with my character doing something.
Yeah, I'm not a big part either, but I'm pretty much the whole end of the movie I'm involved in, and then a couple bits in the beginning.
You there for the Chicago filming?
No, so I was only FaceTiming.
Okay.
So we could do it remotely. I think I had 2 or 3 scenes where I had to FaceTime with him, but I did it from my house and in my car, and then I was there all week that week. Filming. Like the first few days, I had like big parts that I had to do. That was fucking crazy funny. Honestly, super funny. Like reminded me of Superbad. Do you remember that movie Superbad?
Yeah.
That is one of those old when comedy was in its golden era. Like that.
Not any comedies anymore, so this could be a real hit.
Yeah. Well, they haven't made a good comedy in a long time.
Yeah. Connor's a fun guy, so if anyone can pull it off, he can.
Yeah. All right. Well,
All right,
thank you so much. You guys know where to find him. Go blow his page up, hire him, make him some money so that he wants to talk to me again.
All right, Crush. Thanks for having me on, man. You be cool.
Take care. Later.
All right. Bye.
All right. We're going to raid somebody now. Who are we going to raid? Let's raid Pearl. I'm going to raid Pearl. Yeah, we're gonna raid Pearl. You guys ready to raid Pearl? Pearl's been my biggest supporter as a streamer, so I hope you guys go give her a lot of love